Chapter 6071. The three of them just stared dumbly at Han Jingjing for an hour, not moving at all during that time. It was a pity that Han Jingjing's body didn't change at all other than that faint layer of light. It seems that the God-gathering branch can't bring Jingjing back. Lin Yi sighed and couldn't hide the slight disappointment on his face. It wasn't easy to get the God-gathering branch this time, so he had great expectations. Lin Yi, don't worry too much. Maybe the God-gathering branch has already taken effect, but it will take a few days or even a few months to bring Jingjing back. It's too early to make a conclusion now. Tian Chan also felt a little regretful, but she quickly composed herself and began to comfort Lin. Yes, Lin Yi, Jingjing will be fine. The God-gathering branch has already taken effect on her, but it will take a little longer. Let's wait patiently. Maybe Jingjing will wake up tomorrow? Sydney also gently comforted Lin. Like Tian Chan, she was very grateful that Han Jingjing could go to the secular world to save Lin Yi, so she sincerely hoped that the God-gathering branch could bring Han Jingjing back. But in the current situation, in order not to let Lin Yi be too disappointed, the two of them could only try their best to hide the regret in their hearts. You're right. Maybe it's not time yet. Let's wait for a few more days. Lin Yi smiled slightly and could only use this reason to convince himself. Originally, he planned to set off for the South Continent as soon as possible after using the God-gathering branch to wake Han Jingjing up. But now he was worried and had to wait for a few more days to see what would happen. In the northernmost island, the God-gathering branch had caused a commotion. Hao Zili and others chased after Lin Yi to get it, but they were counterattacked by Lin. If people knew that Lin Yi left the God-gathering branch in the Tiandan Pavilion, he couldn't guarantee that no one would attack the Tiandan Pavilion when he was not there. In the next few days, Lin Yi stayed in Han Jingjing's room to see if there was any change in her. He also refined some elixirs for the Tiandan Pavilion to continue selling. As for Languza and others, they were familiar with Tian Chan and Sydney and helped them. But except for Languza, no one was allowed to go to the second floor to see Lin. Seeing that there was no change in Han Jingjing after a few days, Lin inevitably felt a little anxious. Although the God-gathering branch was precious, it seemed to have no effect on Han Jingjing's condition at present. If he continued to wait, the hope was quite slim. In fact, Lin Yi felt very guilty. He shouldn't have let Han Jingjing return to the Heaven Stage Island on her own. He knew that she used a deceptive method to come to the secular world. When she returned, he should have let her directly enter the space of the Jade Pendant. Although there might be problems with the integration after returning to the Heaven Stage Island, it was countless times safer than the current situation. Tian Chan, is there any reply from the secular world from the Central Chamber of Commerce? Lin Yi was annoyed. When he saw Tian Chan come up, he couldn't help but ask again. He had asked this question 4 or 5 times in the past few days. As long as he could receive a reply from the secular world, he might be able to know the news of Han Jingjing. If she really stayed in the secular world and couldn't come back, Lin Yi would find time to return to the secular world and directly use the space of the Jade Pendant to bring her to the Heaven Stage Island. No, these days I asked Min Huichen to go to the Central Chamber of Commerce 3 times a day to ask for a reply from the secular world. Unfortunately, they haven't received it. Maybe Lai Changyi is still investigating this matter and can't give the exact news for a while. Tian Chan pretended to be indifferent to comfort Lin. In fact, she was a little uncertain in her heart. People from the secular world needed time to investigate, which meant that Han Jingjing didn't stay in the villa, which was really not good news. Lin Yi became more and more annoyed. He should have set off to the South Continent, but he couldn't go to the South Continent to do things without definite news about Han Jingjing. Is that bastard Kang Xiaoming purposely stalling for time so that we don't get our reply? No, I have to go to the Central Chamber of Commerce in person. Lin Yi decided to go to Kang Mingming personally to pressure him, but he also knew that the possibility was not high. With Zhong Pingliang watching from above, it wouldn't be easy for Kang Mingming to secretly detain the reply to Lin Yi from the secular world. Lin Yi's main purpose of going to the Central Chamber of Commerce this time was to ask Zhong Pingliang to find a way to find out about the situation in the secular world. Maybe he would have more detailed information. Tian Chan didn't have any opinion on this and nodded in agreement. Go. Jingjing will be fine with us taking care of her. Lin Yi, I need your help. As they were talking, the will of heaven quickly came up from the stairs. Seeing Lin Yi coming out of the room, he immediately waved his hand to greet him. Tiandan Pavilion had always been taken care of by the will of heaven, so there were no restrictions on him. He could come and go at any time. Tian bro, if there's anything you need, just tell me. As long as I can help, I won't say no. Lin Yi was still very respectful towards Tianxing, so he agreed without hesitation. As for going to the Central Chamber of Commerce, he could only put it off for now. If Zhong Pingliang had any news, he would find a way to inform him immediately. How's Jing? Is she getting better? The will of heaven didn't directly state the purpose of his visit. Instead, he asked about Han Jingjing's situation. In fact, he came to visit Han Jingjing when he was free. He more or less understood that the effect of the spirit concentrating branch wasn't as good as he imagined. There's no change. Lin Yi sighed softly and approached the will of heaven. Brother Tian, what do you need my help with? Well, I shouldn't have come to you at this time, but only you can help me with this. It's about the creation battle art. The will of heaven didn't hide anything and directly stated his purpose of visit. What's wrong with the creation battle art? Lin Yi was a little puzzled. Did the will of heaven have a problem practicing the creation battle art? I found the clues to the follow-up of the creation battle art. However, that place requires at least 2 people who have practiced the creation battle art to enter. So, I can only ask for your help. In the entire heavenly island, I really can't find a second person besides you. The will of heaven was also helpless. It could be said that he had been looking for the follow-up of the creation battle art his whole life. Finally, he had a clue, but he found that he couldn't enter alone. This kind of depression couldn't be described easily. Chapter 6072. In other words, if he could not find the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle art, he would only be able to reach this level for the rest of his life. The follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle art? Where is it? Lin Yi was slightly startled. This matter could not be delayed. Although the follow-up mental cultivation method of the original version of the creation battle art was not very useful to him, it was completely different to the will of heaven. It's on a nameless deserted island in the sea near the middle island. If everything goes well, we can come back in a day or 2. The will of heaven knew that Lin Yi agreed to help, so he was a little excited. Lin Yi did not know why the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle art would be on a nameless deserted island, but it did not matter as long as it was true. With the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle art, Lin Yi could also verify it with the heaven-seizing battle art. Maybe he could make more discoveries. In that case, let's not delay. Let's go and come back early. Lin Yi immediately made a decision. It was only a day or 2, so it should not affect them. At the Tiandan Pavilion, Languza and the other 3 masters at the mountain opening stage would be safe for a short time. Lin even left the 4 of them here to protect Han Jingjing and the God-gathering branch when he was considering going to the South Continent. Languza, Brother Tian and I will go out for a day or 2. Take the 3 of them to protect the Tiandan Pavilion. If anyone dares to cause trouble, don't hold back. Lin Yi saw Languza when he went downstairs, so he immediately called him over and whispered to him. Languza nodded and patted his chest hard. Boss, don't worry. There will be no problem here. But boss, where are you going this time? Do you need to fight? Do you want me to go with you? No, you just need to do what I say. Lin Yi smiled faintly. After being idle for a few days, this guy was probably itching to fight again. Unfortunately, there really wasn't any chance for him to fight this time. He just needed to go to the island and find something. After giving a few instructions, Lin Yi followed the will of heaven out of the Tiandan Pavilion. As one of the deputy island masters of Middle Island, the will of heaven had the privilege of using flying spirit beasts at any place. Therefore, there were 2 flying spirit beasts raised by Middle Island officials waiting at the entrance, which saved Lin Yi the trouble of using the flying saucer. The 2 of them immediately rode on their flying spirit beasts and soared into the sky, flying towards the deserted island that the will of heaven had mentioned. The Middle Island's waters were extremely vast. With the speed of the flying spirit beasts, after traveling for half a day, They were still at the core of the Middle Island's waters. There were countless large and small deserted islands scattered on the surface of the sea. When the tide rose, at least half of them would sink into the sea and become submerged reefs. Only when the tide fell would the islands appear. It's there. The will of heaven on the flying spirit beast pointed to a deserted island in the distance. It was now the tide fell. The deserted island he was talking about was only about 1 square kilometer in size. The slope was very low, and it was likely to sink into the sea when the tide rose. Lin Yi nodded and extended his divine sense to carefully search every inch of the deserted island. If not for the guidance of the will of heaven, he would never pay attention to this kind of small island that could be seen everywhere in the sea. Brother Heaven, how did you find this place? Lin Yi didn't ask about this along the way. He was only thinking about how to bring Han Jingjing back to Heavenly Island. Only now did he remember that he should ask about the situation. It's also a coincidence. Recently, when I was wandering around the market, I actually found an incomplete ancient book. It mentioned a genius about 10,000 years ago who was also famous for cultivating the creation battle art. Then, in order to advance to the Earth opening stage, he came to a deserted island in this sea for seclusion. He may have left the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle art. The will of heaven didn't hide anything and told Lin Yi the source of the information. Lin Yi was speechless. This kind of vague record, but the will of heaven could treat it as real. It showed how urgent his desire for the creation battle art was. He was simply not willing to let go of any possibility. This time, he really found the exact location. This sea was so vast, and there were at least 800 islands of different sizes, not including the small islands that had not surfaced for 10,000 years. The will of heaven spent a lot of effort to find this deserted island. Lin Yi could totally imagine how much effort it took for him to find this deserted island. So, Brother Heaven, you can't be sure that this island will have the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle art? Lin Yi sighed softly. The will of heaven might have found the place where the genius from 10,000 years ago went into seclusion, but that person might not have left the mental cultivation method behind. No, I think there's a 90% chance that it's true. That's because the ancient book had mentioned that ever since that genius came here to undergo closed-door training, he never appeared again. It's very likely that he failed his advancement and died in the closed-door training grounds. Therefore, his mental cultivation method must have been left there. Tian Xing spoke with certainty. At the same time, he had already controlled the flying spiritual beast to descend. After a while, the two arrived above the deserted island. Lin Yi's divine sense vaguely found traces of a concealment array on this island. The level was not low. It was at least arranged by an Earth rank array master above level 7. Usually, if Lin Yi didn't pay attention, he wouldn't have found it at all. This was because the concealment array had been damaged. If it was in good condition, it would never be exposed unless the ghost personally used divine sense to explore it. In that case, the possibility of the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle art is very high. Since that person could advance to the Earth opening stage, at least it is more complete than the one in our hands. But if he failed to advance and fell, this mental cultivation method might still have flaws. Lin Yi jumped off the flying spirit beast and stood beside the will of heaven. The flaws of the creation battle art didn't matter to Lin Yi, but the will of heaven had to be careful when practicing it. The next time something happened, he might not be able to stay alive. Let's not talk about this first. As long as we can find the follow-up cultivation method, what's a trivial flaw? The will of heaven laughed and didn't care about it. Lin Yi smiled slightly and immediately felt relieved. If the will of heaven was really afraid of the flaws of the creation battle art, he wouldn't have chosen to practice this mental cultivation method in the first place. It was because of his heroic character that he was very compatible with the creation battle art. If it was someone else who was cautious and indecisive, there was no way for him to practice the creation battle art. Chapter 6073. Lin Yi smiled and nodded in agreement. The will of heaven was indeed lucky. If the concealment formation hadn't been damaged, he probably wouldn't have been able to find this place even if he searched for another 100 years in this sea region with his formation skills. The restriction formation in front of them had reached the standard of a level 7 formation, and it was a rather rare technique. As the will of heaven had said, it required 2 people who cultivated in the creation-type battle art to activate their true chi in 2 directions at the same time to open the entrance. Brother Heaven, don't you think it's a little strange? That person is in seclusion to advance, so why would he set up such a formation? He's alone. Is there a need to set up a restriction that requires 2 people who cultivated in the creation-type battle art to work together to enter? Lin Yi paced back and forth a few steps, pinching his chin as he looked at the will of heaven in confusion. The will of heaven was slightly stunned. He really hadn't thought about this problem. In fact, he didn't have much research in the field of formations. He only knew that this restriction required 2 people who cultivated in the creation-type battle art to work together because of the hint he received after trying it. Is there something strange here? After being reminded by Lin Yi, the will of heaven also felt that this setting was very strange. After thinking for a while, he said resolutely, Lin Yi, let's go back. We haven't solved Jingjing's problem yet, so we'll talk about this later. Brother Heaven, you want to send me back and take the risk alone, right? It says that 2 people are needed to open this place. You can't go in alone. Lin Yi looked at the will of heaven speechlessly. This person wasn't a scheming person, so he could tell what he was thinking at a glance. When he heard that this place might be strange, he didn't want Lin Yi to take the risk, so he continued to study alone. Unfortunately, the excuse he came up with was too lousy. How about this? Help me open the restriction first, then you can go back. I want to explore alone and don't want to share everything inside with you. The will of heaven looked at Lin Yi very seriously, as if what he said was the truth. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh. When did the will of heaven become so sentimental? That's enough, my big brother. Don't talk nonsense with me. Let's break the restriction formation and see what's going on inside. Lin Yi shook his head and began to study the structure of the restriction formation. Forget it, forget it. I, the will of heaven, am not suited to speak such empty words. As expected, you saw through me in an instant. So what if it was strange? If you and I join hands, all demons and monsters will be annihilated. The will of heaven threw his head back and laughed. He had regained some of his previous heroic demeanor. This formation is quite advanced. Apart from 2 cultivators of the creation battle art joining hands, if you want to enter, you can only break the formation by force. But that would require the attack power of at least the late stage of Earth opening to the great completion of Earth opening. It seems that the 2 of us can only choose the first way. Lin Yi smiled slightly and took the initiative to walk to a formation door. In fact, if Lin Yi came alone, there was also a chance that he could enter. For example, he could use the Wood Forest's 1,000 transformations to create a doppelganger. At the same time, he could use the Heaven's Fortune battle art to open the restriction formation. Another way was to use the lightning escape technique to teleport back and forth between 2 positions, creating an illusion of transferring genuine chi at the same time. But this method was much more difficult. The will of heaven didn't have this kind of martial arts, so he had never thought about it. While Lin Yi was studying it, he had thought of countless ways to crack it. Unfortunately, there were only a few that could work. I asked you to come here because I want you to choose the first way. The will of heaven laughed and strode in another direction, facing Lin. The 2 of them looked at each other and smiled. At the same time, they stretched out their palms, pressed on the position of the formation door, and began to transfer the genuine chi of the creation battle art. Although Lin Yi's Heaven's Fortune battle art had been mutated, his genuine chi itself was omnipotent genuine chi. If he wanted to return to the orthodox creation battle art, it was not difficult at all. In just about a breath of time, the restriction formation in front of him made a soft sound, revealing a passage that could allow 1 person to walk normally. Well, let's go in. This entrance can only last for 3 breaths. Lin Yi said to the will of heaven, and was ready to enter first. I'll go first. The will of heaven rushed forward and rushed into the passage before Lin. If it was someone else, they might think that the will of heaven was very impolite, as if he was worried that others would rob him of his things. However, Lin Yi knew that the will of heaven was afraid that there was danger inside, so he walked in front, with the intention of walking into a landmine for Lin. In terms of strength, the current Lin Yi far surpassed the will of heaven. However, because Lin Yi was the one who asked Lin Yi to help, before the will of heaven fell, he must not allow any damage to happen to Lin Yi. Be careful. Lin Yi did not say much, but reminded with a faint smile. He followed behind the will of heaven, and his divine sense penetrated into the passage first, carefully observing for any abnormalities. After entering the array prohibition, the scene in front of him changed. It looked like a huge rock from the outside, but now it was a stone staircase deep underground. Lin Yi's divine sense could only explore a few dozen meters, and he could not see the bottom of the stone staircase. Obviously, there was an arrangement to restrict divine sense. Lin Yi, you are right, this is indeed a bit strange. Ordinary people would not go deep underground when they do closed-door training, especially our creation battle art, which is a first-class heart cultivation method. Only by getting closer to the sun, moon, and stars can we feel the awe-inspiring righteousness between heaven and earth, so as to increase the speed of cultivation. It seems that there are some errors in the ancient records. The will of heaven also became more and more suspicious of the authenticity of this place. However, with his character, since he was already here, of course, he had to find out the truth. Maybe that genius failed to advance and fell here because he went deep underground to train? Lin Yi said with a smile, and his divine sense began to try to break the prohibition here. The divine sense vortex attack method was very effective in tearing the divine sense prohibition. In a short time, the exploration range of Lin Yi's divine sense expanded several times, and finally he could see the end of the stone staircase. All the way down, there were at least 2,000 or 3,000 stone steps, and from the distance, it was estimated that it was about 1,000 meters deep under the sea. The will of heaven operated all the genuine qi in his body to maintain a state of defense, and did not dare to neglect the slightest. However, along the way, nothing happened. It seemed that this long stone staircase was just an ordinary stone staircase, and there were no traps. Chapter 6074. The two of them soon came to the end of the stone steps. There was a bronze door that was tightly shut, but the material was obviously not as simple as bronze. There was no restriction on it that could block divine sense, but Lin Yi's divine sense could not penetrate it. The will of heaven raised his hand and motioned for Lin Yi to temporarily stop on the stone steps. Then he came to the front of the bronze door, stretched out his palm that was wrapped in genuine qi, and gently stroked the surface of the door. The rust on the surface rustled under the influence of the will of heaven's genuine qi, and slowly revealed mysterious lines. Lin Yi did not stand behind as he was told, but silently came to the side of the will of heaven and carefully looked at the lines. The will of heaven glanced at Lin Yi beside him and did not say anything, but his heart raised a bit of vigilance. If there was any danger, he must first ensure the safety of Lin. As for the fact that Lin Yi was stronger than him, he completely ignored it. Did you see anything? The will of heaven's palm continued to slowly and steadily stroke the surface of the door, revealing more lines. It looks like a door opening array pattern. It's not too difficult. It's about the same as before. All we need to do is to inject our primary energy in different places. But this time, we need to inject our primary energy into 4 points. So, we need to use our hands separately. Lin Yi smiled slightly, and then pointed out the 4 points that needed to input genuine qi, and took the lead to choose 2 points and put his hand on them. In fact, Lin Yi was more interested in the material of the door. It could directly block the penetration of divine sense. If he sent it to the Junk King, he could make a lot of good things. Unfortunately, now was not the time to dismantle the door. The will of heaven stopped the cleaning work, which was less than 30% left, and directly put his hands on the other 2 points that Lin Yi pointed out. At the same time, the two people input the genuine qi of the battle art of creation, and sure enough, the bronze door began to slowly open. Lin Yi's divine sense swept through the open gap. Inside was a stone room about 100 square meters, more than 6 meters high. There was nothing special, it looked very empty. On the wall opposite the bronze door, there were 3 2-meter-high stone caves arranged in a triangular shape, but there was a restriction at the cave entrance, and Lin Yi's divine sense could not break it for a while. After the bronze door was half open, it was enough for them to pass. The will of heaven took the lead and quickly glanced around, and found no danger, then let the door open and let Lin Yi in. Lin Yi was also speechless. The will of heaven had always treated him as a person to be protected along the way, and to be honest, he was not used to it. But for the kindness of the will of heaven, Lin Yi could not say anything more. Those 3 stone caves, maybe they are the places where the geniuses practice according to the ancient records. Let's go in and see. The will of heaven strode forward, and soon came to the bottom of the cave in the stone wall. The restriction here only blocked the divine sense, but it could not stop people, so he only needed to jump in. This was what Lin Yi felt strange about. It was obviously a place for private seclusion. Was it necessary to set up this kind of restriction to block other people's divine sense from prying? Even if it was to be set up, it would be more appropriate to prevent people from accidentally breaking in, right? Brother Heaven, wait a minute, these stone caves are a bit strange. Lin Yi raised his voice to stop the will of heaven from entering the stone cave. He was ready to break the restriction first and explore with his divine sense. Is there anything wrong? The will of heaven turned back to ask Lin Yi, but just saw a gray air mass rising under the feet of Lin Yi, who walked to the middle position, and suddenly exclaimed, "Be careful." Lin Yi's heart jumped. His divine sense checked back and forth in this empty place, and did not find any danger, so his attention was focused on the 3 stone caves with divine sense restriction. He did not expect that there was such a hidden mechanism in the most central place. The strange thing was that the space of the jade pendant did not give any warning this time. Lin even wondered if there was something wrong, but then he knew why there was no warning, because it was not dangerous for him at all. Jia, a young man at the peak of the late stage of mysterious ascension, there is no more suitable body than this. The gray air mass made a sharp, strange laugh, and instantly enveloped Lin Yi's body, and then desperately penetrated into the direction of his sea of consciousness. Possession. Lin Yi could not help but secretly laugh. No wonder the space of the jade pendant did not even bother to send out a warning. He could be afraid of anything, but really not afraid of possession. Not to mention other things, just this ghostly thing, the ancestor-level character of the primordial spirit is enough to make people who want to possess a good drink. Not to mention Lin Yi himself is proficient in the primordial spirit devouring. Want to possess him? Are you sure it is not coming to him to be a dish? As for the soul hook hand, divine sense vortex and so on, Lin Yi was too lazy to use them. Of course, the primordial spirit devouring Lin Yi did not want to use it easily. The cleaning up after Li Shuigao's soul search has not been completed. He does not want to make his mind a mess. A layer of small lightning arc appeared on the surface of Lin Yi's body in an instant, making a slight crackling sound. The primordial spirit that wanted to possess Lin Yi suddenly screamed, as if it had seen a ghost, and frantically escaped from Lin Yi's body. You are actually a thunder-type cultivator. The gray mass of air became slightly thinner. Its voice was filled with unconcealable fear. For a primordial spirit, what is the most terrifying opponent? Is there a need to ask? Besides alchemy fire, it is thunder-type cultivator. This is the existence that can easily destroy a primordial spirit. Even if it is the primordial spirit devouring, it is ranked behind the thunder. Sorry, I just happen to know a little thunder-type attack. Why don't you try again? Maybe you can succeed. Lin Yi looked at the primordial spirit playfully, roughly guessing some of the ins and outs of this matter. The information found by the will of heaven should be true, but it is not complete. This primordial spirit is most likely that genius. He left that record to attract people who practice the creation battle art to find him, and then take the opportunity to possess a body and be reborn. If his guess was correct, this primordial spirit already knew that his physical body was about to be destroyed, so he set up this trap. The entrance condition of the formation was also to restrict the person who entered to someone who had cultivated the creation battle art. This way, after he took over the body, he would be able to connect seamlessly. Why was there no danger along the way? Now it was easy to explain. It was not easy to get a body to possess. How could he bear to kill or injure it? As for the divine sense restriction on the stone cave, it was probably to divert the attention of the person who entered. Lin Yi was very unfortunate to be trapped. If not for the fact that he was not afraid of possession, he would have been successfully possessed by the primordial spirit. Chapter 6075. If that really happened, they could only be hooked into the space together and let that ghost thing help them separate. These thoughts just flashed through Lin Yi's mind, but it already made him feel a sense of enlightenment. After the soul possession of Lin Yi failed, without saying a word, the soul instantly rushed to the will of heaven. Limiting 2 people to come in was to prepare for one to fail, then another. His arrangement can be said to be precise, but unfortunately, after waiting for 10,000 years, Lin Yi, such an abnormal person, came. With a flash of lightning, Lin Yi directly appeared in front of the soul, raised his hand and shot out a ball of lightning, using his spiritual sense to control it to form a lightning net, completely wrapping the gray mass in it. Any trace of gas that came into contact with the lightning net would be instantly destroyed. Continuous screams came from within the lightning net. After suffering a few losses, the soul immediately retracted the mass of gas, and no longer dared to touch the outer lightning net easily. Lin Yi, you are really strong now. The will of heaven stood behind Lin Yi dumbfounded. He still wanted to rescue Lin Yi, but in the blink of an eye, everything was settled. In addition to sighing at Lin Yi's strength, the will of heaven really didn't know what else he could say. Oh, brother heaven, you flatter me, there are countless powerful cultivators outside, my strength is not enough. Lin Yi smiled faintly. He was really not modest. He had seen the strength of the sea-splitting stage. A mere peak profound ascension late stage was really not much different from an ant. Junior, you are very self-aware. If you weren't a lightning cultivator, you would have been possessed by me long ago. Hurry up and let me go, and you will be rewarded handsomely. The primordial spirit didn't seem to understand the situation it was in, and it clamored arrogantly. Lin Yi directly separated a small lightning arc from the lightning net and fell on his body, causing a trace of gray gas to explode, causing the soul to scream again. You dare to say that you want to possess me? It seems that you are really not afraid of my lightning arc. Lin Yi looked at the soul in the lightning net with a smile. He really didn't understand where this guy's confidence came from. Don't be complacent. If you dare to continue to do this to me, we will die together. I am not afraid to tell you, I have arranged a level 9 trap and kill array here. If there is no suppression of my soul, it will break out at any time. If you don't believe me, you can try. After the soul stopped screaming, it didn't show any signs of softening. Instead, it threatened Lin even more fiercely. Lin Yi suddenly changed a little, a level 9 array. He really couldn't see it, even if it was a ghost. He was afraid that it would not be easy to break it in a short time. There was no need for Lin Yi to speak. The ghost's divine sense had already spread out, and in an instant, it repeatedly scanned the space. Kid, this fool is right. There is indeed a level 9 array here. I really didn't notice it if I didn't check carefully. The good news is that this level 9 trap and kill array should be just a formation plate. Its power is countless times weaker than the starfall array. The bad news is that even if it is countless times weaker than the starfall array, it is still very easy to kill you instantly. The ghost was very efficient, immediately giving professional advice. But why did Lin Yi listen to it? He felt a little gloating, ignoring the ghost. Lin Yi reached out and grabbed, and put away the lightning net. The soul thought that its threat had worked, and suddenly wanted to continue to be arrogant. But suddenly, an invisible hand completely grabbed it, and it could not move at all. There was no doubt that this was Lin Yi's ultimate skill, the soul hooking hand. Originally, he did not intend to use this skill, but since there was a level 9 trap and kill array plate here, he could not hold back and must ensure his safety. I don't think you will tell me how to break this trap and kill array plate, right? So I decided to do as you said, and try to find the answer myself. Lin Yi smiled slightly, thinking about whether to use the spirit devour or soul search to deal with this soul. Both were not his favorite methods. It was really a dilemma. How do you know that this trap and kill array is a formation plate? The soul was slightly stunned, and subconsciously asked Lin Yi, carefully recalling what it had said just now. It did not seem to mention the words array plate. Before it could figure it out, the soul imprisoned by the soul hooking hand felt a faint pulling force coming from Lin Yi's direction. Spirit devour? This guy was really experienced. With just a slight feeling, he immediately recognized the skill that Lin Yi was using and at the same time screamed. Stop. Stop. I admit defeat. I surrender. Feeling the threat of the spirit devour, the soul immediately panicked. Lin Yi's lightning arcs were indeed terrifying, but he relied on the level 9 trap and kill array plate. Once he was seriously injured, he would perish together with Lin Yi, so he still had the confidence to be arrogant. Spirit Devour was different. Although the pain was much lighter than the lightning arcs, if the soul was devoured by Lin Yi, the level 9 trap and kill array plate bound to the soul would definitely not be triggered. In other words, if he died in vain, why must he die? I thought you were tough. It turns out that you are only SOS. Lin Yi looked at the soul mockingly and did not continue to use Spirit Devour. In the end, Lin Yi really did not want to casually devour those messy soul. He felt that his sea of consciousness would become a sea of garbage. Since you have surrendered, then hand over the control of the level 9 trap and kill array first. Lin Yi was not going to be polite. The level 9 trap and kill array plate was definitely a good thing. The level 8 concealment array plate he snatched was already extremely precious, but compared to the current one, it was directly trash. The soul was also not long-winded, knowing that he was unable to resist, so he simply and neatly removed the binding to the trap and kill array plate, handing over the control. Why can't I take out this array plate? Lin Yi wanted to put away the trap and kill array plate directly, but found that he could control it, but he could not put away the array plate. Suddenly, his face became a little ugly. Because this array plate has been set up for too long, it has already integrated with this place. If you want to take it out, you have to destroy this place, but if you destroy this place, you can't keep the array plate. The soul explained carefully, for fear that Lin Yi would use Spirit Devour, Thundernet Attack, and so on. Lin Yi was suddenly speechless, a level 9 trap and kill array plate. He could only see it but not take it. He thought that he had made a fortune this time, but in the end, it was still like drawing water with a wicker basket. Chapter 6076. My name is Wang Ba. The creation battle art is in the stone room where I cultivate. Actually, what I have is not the complete version of the creation battle art. I can only cultivate it to the great completion of the earth-opening realm because I don't have the follow-up mental cultivation method. That's why my body collapsed and only my primordial spirit survived for 10,000 years. The primordial spirit, Wang Ba, sighed. According to the information that the will of heaven had found, this guy came to cultivate in seclusion to advance to the earth-opening realm. It was obviously a lie. In fact, he already had the strength of the great completion of the earth-opening realm. 10,000-year-old tortoise. Quite a good match for you. Lin Yi's mouth twitched. Was this guy here to make fun of him? It's Wang Ba. Wang Ba from the Wang Ba Empire, not Tortoise. Wang Ba shouted angrily. Then, he remembered that he was not facing a kind person, so he quickly lowered his voice. He was extremely nervous, afraid that a few lightning arcs would suddenly appear. I don't care if you're Wang Ba or Tortoise. Just hand over the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle art. Lin Yi waved his hand indifferently. Suddenly he thought of something and asked suspiciously, 10,000-year-old tortoise, the creation battle art that's passed down on Heaven Level Island can only be cultivated to the great completion of the nascent soul realm. Don't tell me that it's all you're doing. Don't lie. You know I can find the truth myself. You can even guess that? He's simply too brilliant and mighty. Wang Ba did not dare to hide anything. He quickly flattered Lin Huang and carefully explained, actually, 10,000 years ago, the creation battle art was only the incomplete version in my hands. No one else cultivated it except me. So, even if I wanted to possess someone at that time, there was no suitable person. So, you made the incomplete creation battle art even more incomplete, and then spread it out in large quantities. You also left behind such an obscure message to attract people who cultivated the creation battle art to find the follow-up mental cultivation method, so that you could seize the opportunity to possess them? Lin Yi sneered and interrupted Wang Ba. He had more or less figured out what had happened. This bastard Wang Ba was really ruthless. In order to leave a way out for himself if he failed to break through to the sea-splitting stage, Wang Ba purposely spread the creation battle art. As long as someone saw this kind of peerless mental cultivation method, there would be people who could not help but cultivate it. Even if they knew it was a trap, they would still jump into it involuntarily. Just like when Lin Yi first came into contact with the creation battle arts, those fellows in the same batch did not even have the courage to flip through the creation battle arts and directly destroyed the creation battle arts that were distributed to them. There was a reason for this. In the past 10,000 years, it was unknown how many people had cultivated the creation battle art but could only helplessly perish when they reached the nascent soul stage. The will of heaven was lucky to have met Lin Yi, otherwise he would have been a cripple and could not escape the fate of dying in depression. Once someone cultivated the creation battle art, they would definitely continue to search for the subsequent mental cultivation arts, such as the will of heaven. Unfortunately, that bastard Wang Ba was really unlucky. In the past 10,000 years, only the will of heaven had found this place. Lin even suspected that the damage to the concealment formation outside was not caused by the passage of time. In order to make people pretend to have found this place after much effort, it was highly possible that the bastard Wang Ba had done this on purpose. Otherwise, the entrance to the second layer of the formation would not have given people a hint so easily. You're really amazing. You're definitely smart. It was an absolutely flawless plan. Absolutely. Wang Ba was secretly shocked, but he kept praising Lin. Although he suspected that he was flattering Lin Yi, it was a true reflection of the shock in his heart. With just a few words, Lin Yi had made such an accurate deduction. What exactly was this young man's background? He was too crazy. Not only was he crazy in terms of strength, but he was also crazy in terms of his meticulous thinking. Lin Yi did not think that he was that great. The reason he could deduce so many things was not only because he had a lot of clues, but also because he had a clear view of things as a bystander. In addition, he had a flash of inspiration just now. It was impossible for him to analyze and deduce like this all the time. Lin Yi, you're saying that everything about the creation battle art was a trap set up by Wang Ba? The shock in the will of heaven's heart was no less than Wang Ba's since the beginning. Now that he had finally sorted out his thoughts, he still looked like he could not believe it. That's right. Brother Tian, if you want to beat him up to vent your anger, I can help you. Lin Yi smiled. No matter who it was, they would feel uncomfortable when they heard that the mental cultivation method that they cultivated with their life was just a bait thrown by someone else on purpose. Even a bold person like the will of heaven would not be an exception. That was why Lin Yi made such a suggestion. If the will of heaven could beat Wang Ba up in exchange for a clear mind, it would be beneficial for his future cultivation. There's no need for that. I won't be angry. If he hadn't spread the creation battle art on purpose, how would I have the chance to cultivate it? Didn't you hear him say that he was the only one who had the creation battle art 10,000 years ago? Luckily, he released the first part. Otherwise, the creation battle art would have been lost 10,000 years ago. The will of heaven laughed and waved his hand as if he really did not mind it at all. Not only was he not unhappy that the creation battle art he cultivated was only an incomplete one, he even felt lucky. Brother Tian, you're so open-minded. Lin Yi praised him with a smile and continued to ask Wang Ba, which cave is the next part of the mental cultivation method of the creation battle art? Is there anything good in the other two? Wang Ba smiled bitterly. The one at the top is the stone room that I used for cultivation. There's nothing else. My cultivation is not enough at all. How can I get anything good? Otherwise, I wouldn't have risked my life to advance to the sea-splitting stage. Besides, 10,000 years have passed. Even if there was anything good, it would have been destroyed by now. 10,000 years ago, the great completion of Earth opening stage was not considered a great power, unlike now. Apart from the East continent, the Earth opening stage was considered a big shot. They were the strongest existence after the old monsters in the ancient families. However, Lin Yi wouldn't believe Wang Ba's words just like that. 10,000 years old bastard, I told you not to lie. Do you really want to try the primordial spirit devouring? Lin Yi raised his hand and stared at Wang Ba with a faint smile. As long as this guy insisted that there was nothing, he would use the primordial spirit devouring without hesitation. Chapter 6077. Apparently, Wang Ba also thought of this. He panicked and could not help begging for mercy. I can give you anything as long as you don't take the dark sea soul condensing fluid away. It's all because of the dark sea soul condensing fluid that I can survive. Why would a guy who cultivated the creation battle art choose a place deep underground for seclusion? The truth was finally revealed. It was because only here could there be the black sea soul condensing fluid that could nourish the primordial spirit. In fact, Lin had found it strange at the beginning. How could a primordial spirit retain such a powerful strength after 10,000 years? He knew it when he encountered the ghost. Later, when he found that he could not take the formation plate away, he realized that the level 9 trap and kill formation here had another function, which was to protect the small mass of black sea soul condensing fluid. Wang Ba was not lying. If he had not had the black sea soul condensing fluid, his primordial spirit would have been at the foundation establishment stage after his body collapsed after failing to break through to the sea splitting stage. How could he have possessed others? After 10,000 years, the primordial spirit of a foundation establishment stage cultivator should have dissipated for many years. Although this guy had been restrained by Lin Yi, his primordial spirit was still at the peak of the early stage of the Earth creation stage. It was probably because of the black sea soul condensing fluid that he could cultivate to such a level in 10,000 years. Boy, the black sea soul condensing fluid is good stuff. It's not only useful for me, but also for you. Don't let go of such a treasure. The ghost was also excited and could not help reminding Lin. If he had obtained such a mass of black sea soul condensing fluid in the secular world, he would have recovered his original strength. Even if he was just a primordial spirit, he would still be able to dominate the world. As long as he did not encounter a freakish cultivator like Lin Yi who specialized in restraining primordial spirits. If you had told me the truth, I might have considered leaving you half of the black sea soul condensing fluid. Unfortunately, you didn't cherish it. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. Lin Yi smiled faintly. He waved his fist and released a stream of genuine qi to open the ground in the center, revealing a small jade trough. With a gentle wave of his hand, Lin Yi's genuine qi wrapped the ball of light golden dark sea soul condensing liquid and flew into the air. Then he divided it into small balls and put it into 10 exquisite jade bottles. Wang Ba watched all this happen, but he did not dare to move at all. Lin Yi's methods restrained him too much. It was painful to lose the Xianxia soul condensing liquid, but the pain was dozens or even hundreds of times more intense when the thunder arc or the primordial spirit was devoured. Finally, there were 2 drops of dark sea soul condensing liquid left. Lin Yi did not take them away, but returned them to the jade trough. I'll leave these 2 drops for you. They can at least guarantee your survival for a long time. If you don't behave yourself, I won't be polite with you anymore. Lin Yi looked at Wang Ba coldly. The primordial spirit that had lost its physical body was different from when he went to the secular world. It was very difficult to form a primordial spirit body, and as time passed, it would become more and more difficult for it to survive. Wang Ba said dejectedly, I see. What else do you want to know? Ask away. I don't have anything good to give you anyway. Go and open the restriction of the cave first. Lin Yi pointed at the 3 caves on the rock wall. He could also open the restriction of the cave entrance, but with Wang Ba around, there was no need for him to waste his energy. Wang Ba did not dare to disobey, so he floated over obediently and removed the restriction that blocked his divine consciousness. Lin Yi's divine consciousness instantly swept into the cave. The one at the top was indeed arranged like a cultivation room. There was a brown jade cushion in the middle, and there was a damaged level 7 spirit gathering formation around the cushion. Perhaps it was caused by this guy's failure to break through back then, so he did not repair it after he became a primordial spirit. The other 2 caves were bigger. One of them had a casting pool, and the other looked like a nursery. Something must have been planted there in the past, but now it was barren. It was a miracle that the soil had not turned into stone. You know how to cast weapons and cultivate spiritual herbs? Do you also know how to study craftsmanship and alchemy? Lin Yi glanced at Wang Ba and could not help but feel curious. Plus the formations that he had set up earlier, this bastard was an all-rounder. I just know a little. I'm just kidding. Casting weapons is to make some formation flags. It's convenient to set up formations, but I can't cultivate spiritual herbs. Basically, spiritual herbs don't grow in this place. Wang Ba was quite humble. It seemed like he was scared of Lin Yi, so he did not dare to show any arrogance. Do you have any more formation flags? Take them out and let me see. Lin Yi wanted to ask the tattered king to refine some formation flags for him. It would be best if Wang Ba had more. Formation flags that could be used to set up level 7 formations were high level enough for him. At his current stage, it was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. However, with the ghost's guidance, Lin Yi felt that his progress in formations would be very fast. He estimated that he would be able to make the best use of the formation flags in no time. I'm sorry, I've used up all the formation flags that I've refined in the past. Wang Ba wanted to cry but had no tears. Why did he have to meet this guy who wanted everything? Moreover, he could not defeat him. Back then, in order to successfully possess someone, he had purposely limited the creation battle tactics to the nascent soul stage. What happened in the end? Was he still in the nascent soul stage? Why do you always say that you don't have any when I ask you? Lin Yi frowned in dissatisfaction, but he was not too bothered. It did not matter if he did not have any formation flags. The most important thing was the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle tactics. The will of heaven had already jumped into the cave at the top and started looking for the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle tactics that Wang Ba had mentioned. However, Lin Yi did not find it after scanning the cave with his divine consciousness. The will of heaven would probably not find anything even if he searched the cave. Tortoise, where is the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle tactics? It's not in that cave. My patience is limited. You know what will happen to you if you play tricks. Lin Yi grabbed in the air and pulled Wang Ba's primordial spirit in front of him. The primordial spirit's devouring power was activated. Oh no, I'm not playing any tricks. It's really in the cave above. If you don't believe me, let's go up together. I'll find it for you. I've set up a concealment formation under the spirit gathering formation, so your divine consciousness won't be able to find it, Wang Ba explained immediately in case Lin Yi devoured it. Your formation skills are really good. I can't even find the concealment formation that you set up. Lin Yi said this on behalf of the ghost because even with the ghost's formation skills, it could not find the concealment formation. Chapter 6078. As he spoke, Lin Yi flew into the cave with Wang Ba. The will of heaven had already searched the cave and found nothing. This place was originally empty. There was only a brown jade praying mat that was slightly more eye-catching. There was nothing else. Tian Xing flipped the jade praying mat in his hand and did not find anything unusual. Where is it? Lin Yi looked at Wang Ba and asked calmly. Loosen up a little. I'll remove the formation. Are you afraid that I can escape from you? Wang Ba was restrained by Lin. He could not do anything other than speak, which was why he made such a request. Lin Yi did not suspect anything. The stone room was only so big, so there was no need to worry that Wang Ba would escape. Hence, he loosened up on Wang Ba. Thank you very much. Wang Ba laughed and floated to the futon. At the same time, he released his divine consciousness. The futon suddenly lit up and enveloped Wang Ba. It's a miniature teleportation formation. The ghost exclaimed. The miniature teleportation formation was hidden in the futon, and even it could not detect it. The formation did not seem to be of a high level. It was probably because the method of setting up the formation was completely different from what it knew. Lin Yi did not say a word and moved the soul hook. Unfortunately, Wang Ba had already entered the teleportation light. The light blocked the soul hook completely, so it could not affect Wang Ba at all. Hurry up and go in. Otherwise, we won't be able to activate the second teleportation in a short time. The ghost communicated with Lin Yi through divine consciousness at an extremely fast speed. In the outside world, it was almost like time had stopped. Because of that, before the miniature teleportation formation could send Wang Ba away, Lin Yi and the soul hook had already entered the teleportation light at almost the same time. The soul hook was blocked, but Lin Yi successfully rushed into the teleportation light. Wang Ba's pride had just risen, but it immediately turned into fear. Don't come in. This teleportation formation can only teleport one person. Wang Ba only managed to say half a sentence. After a flash of light, he and Lin Yi disappeared completely, leaving the futon to return to its original brown color as if nothing had happened. The will of heaven was shocked. It happened so fast that he could not react in time. Although he knew he should stop Wang Ba, his body could not keep up. Before coming in, the will of heaven wanted to protect Lin Yi wholeheartedly, even if it meant sacrificing his life. Yet, he had to watch Lin Yi disappear. The anger he felt almost made him lose his mind. If he had not heard half of what Wang Ba said and knew that this was a teleportation formation, Lin Yi might not have been in danger. The will of heaven would have wanted to kill him. On the other side, Lin Yi's vision darkened after entering the teleportation formation. He felt a great pain all over his body. The heaven-stealing battle art automatically activated, and when he finally suppressed it, he felt dizzy again. Even his primordial spirit was showing signs of instability. The 10,000-year-old tortoise did not lie. This miniature teleportation formation could not withstand the teleportation of two people, even if one of them was just a primordial spirit. After some time, maybe a few days, or maybe just a moment, when Lin Yi felt that his primordial spirit was about to collapse, a drop of light golden Xianxia soul-condensing liquid was sent into his consciousness ocean, instantly stabilizing his primordial spirit. The next moment, Lin Yi found himself in a stone room that was very similar to the one before. If there was not a small rock bookshelf, he would have thought that he had not been teleported away. Senior Ghost, where is that 10,000-year-old tortoise? Lin Yi shook his head. He knew that the ghost had saved him with the Xianxia soul-condensing liquid at the critical moment, but he did not know if Wang Ba, the bastard, was still alive. Don't worry about him. The miniature teleportation formation can indeed only withstand one person's teleportation. During the teleportation, that unlucky guy was torn into pieces. If you did not have the Xianxia soul-condensing liquid, your primordial spirit would have been severely damaged. The ghost was also a little scared. If Lin Yi died, the space in the jade pendant would probably collapse, and the ghost would not be able to escape. Although it had the soul wood and the Xianxia soul-condensing liquid, it was impossible for it to survive the collapse of the space in the jade pendant and the tearing force of the teleportation formation. He got lucky. Lin Yi sighed softly. He had underestimated this old monster who had lived for nearly 10,000 years. It found a chance to escape when he was slightly careless. Although this guy was dead in the end, he could not use the primordial spirit devouring skill or the soul-searching skill to find any information. Fortunately, this stone room should be another place where Wang Ba cultivated. The teleportation formation was set up to leave a way out. If he guessed correctly, the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle tactics should be here. Senior Ghost, how far is the distance of the miniature teleportation formation? Where are we now? Lin Yi had completely lost the concept of time during the teleportation. He did not even know how long had passed, so he could only ask the ghost. We're still on that island. The teleportation time was only 1 second, but this stone room was hidden by Wang Ba with a formation, so we didn't find this place before. Speaking of which, this guy's formation skills are really good. I've never seen this kind of formation technique before. If I have time, I'd like to study it here. It was rare for the ghost to be so serious, so Lin Yi immediately paid attention to it. Even an Earth-level formation master like the ghost was full of praise. If he could find Wang Ba's formation book, it would not be inferior to the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle tactics. The most eye-catching thing in this stone room was naturally the rock bookshelf. There were 4 rectangular jade boxes on it. There was a restriction on the jade boxes to prevent the things inside from being damaged. Lin Yi kept his divine consciousness on high alert. He slowly walked to the rock bookshelf and casually broke the restriction on one of the jade boxes. The restriction was only used to protect the jade box and was not very complicated, so it was easy to break it. Before opening it, Lin Yi first used his divine consciousness to check carefully. Wang Ba, that be *starred, was very cunning. Who knew if there were other traps in these jade boxes? The ghost did not dare to be negligent. It checked with Lin Yi together. After confirming that there were no problems, It let Lin Yi open the jade box in his hand. There was a thin book in the jade box. It seemed to be made of some kind of silk. Without the protection of the restriction, it would have been rotten after 10,000 years. Lin Yi was very careful now, afraid that he would cause irreparable damage to the book. Chapter 6079. It was a worthwhile trip to obtain the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle art. The other 3 jade boxes on the bookshelf were definitely a pleasant surprise. He could only hope that Wang Ba's Formation Dao ancient book was among them. Lin Yi did not have the time to look at it carefully. He first put the creation battle art into his storage bag, broke a restriction, and carefully opened the lid. There was another book made of the same material inside. There was no indication on the cover. After opening it, he realized that it was Wang Ba's cultivation experience of the creation battle art. The 10,000-year tortoise can indeed be considered an amazing genius. He can definitely be called a master in the study of creation battle arts. Unfortunately, he was trapped in the Earth expansion stage. If he had the mental cultivation method after the sea-splitting stage, his achievements would be limitless. Lin Yi flipped through it and could not help but exclaim. Lin Yi was hesitant to give this cultivation experience to the will of heaven because everyone would have their own understanding of the creation battle art. It could not be said that it was completely different, but it was definitely not the same. It was just like how Lin Yi used the art of dragon mastery to fuse with the creation battle art. It was only suitable for him to cultivate, but the will of heaven was almost useless. Wang Ba's cultivation experience was exquisite, but it was also because of this that it was likely to affect the will of heaven's own understanding of the creation battle art. It might be fast in the beginning, but it was hard to say in the later stages. Senior Ghost, do you think this cultivation experience is useful to the will of heaven? Lin Yi was not sure, so he could only ask for the ghost's opinion. You can give it to him as a reference. He'll know what's useful and what's useless anyway. Actually, it doesn't matter if you don't give it to him. It's just a failure's experience anyway. No matter what, he won't be able to break through to the sea-splitting stage. The ghost looked indifferent and even a little disdainful. Lin Yi didn't know what to say in response. The ghost was basically talking nonsense, but it did make sense. In the end, Lin Yi decided to put it away first and give it to the will of heaven to decide whether he wanted to use it or not. The other 2 jade boxes were still waiting for him to open. The 3rd jade box's restriction was broken. Lin Yi began to hope that it was an ancient book of Formation Dao. It did not matter even if it was not, as long as it was not the 2nd volume of Wang Ba's cultivation experience, Casting Foundation. Lin Yi was speechless. It was just a book on the basics of weaponsmithing. Was there a need to keep it this precious for 10,000 years? If he gave it to the King of Rags, this book would definitely be useful to him. Kid, don't underestimate the foundation of casting 10,000 years ago. The current casting techniques are only as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. If this book is auctioned, it will definitely fetch a sky-high price. Although your friend, the King of Junk, has another inheritance, this book will definitely be helpful to him. The ghostly thing kindly reminded him, then urged, all right, hurry up and put them away. Open the last jade box as well. Lin Yi thought about it and realized that it made sense. He'd give it to the garbage king later, it'd be worth it even if it helped a little. Before opening the last jade box, Lin Yi suddenly thought of the nursery in the stone cave. Could it be a book about growing spiritual herbs? The stone cave was the casting pool, and the 3rd jade box was the casting foundation. Therefore, it was possible a guide to growing spiritual herbs. It really was used to grow grass. Lin Yi almost threw the book away along with the jade box. Wang Ba, you bastard! What the hell was this? It had been preserved for 10,000 years. Wait, what's that under the book? Take it out. The ghost was a little disappointed, but it was more attentive. It used its divine sense to find a folded piece of paper under the book. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He quickly took the book out of the jade box and saw the paper at the bottom. If the ghost was in seclusion, he would have used his divine sense to check it out. However, he almost missed it because of his laziness. It seemed like he should not rely on the ghost too much in the future. He had to do everything by himself. 10,000 amplification formation. Lin Yi read the 4 small words on the paper and unfolded the paper. Although it was a little small, at least it seemed to be related to formations. Lin Yi was looking forward to it. However, the 10,000 amplification formation that was the size of an A4 piece of paper was blank. There was nothing on it. What's going on? Could it be that it's been too long and the content has disappeared? Lin Yi was stunned. He flipped it over and looked at the back. Apart from the 4 small words, there was nothing on it. If the content had disappeared because it had been too long, the 4 words should not have been left behind. Lin Yi flipped the paper again and studied the blank. Perhaps he needed to pour some water on it? Or roast it with fire? Or use water first and then fire? Lin Yi kept thinking about all the clichés he had seen in the past. If it did not work, he would have to try them out one by one. Just as he was thinking about it, a small black dot appeared in the center of the 10,000 amplification formation. Lin Yi was immediately excited. This was a rare discovery. It seemed like he did not need water or fire to display the content. After the small black dot appeared, another small black dot appeared not far away from it. Then, in the span of a breath, more than a dozen black dots appeared in succession. These black dots circled around the small black dot in the center in an orderly manner. Soon, they formed a simple diagram. This is a grade 1 formation? Lin Yi blinked and looked at the 10,000 amplification formation in surprise. Not waiting for him to finish speaking, these little black dots slightly changed their positions, forming another level 1 array diagram. After a few breaths, a third array diagram appeared. At this point, if Lin Yi still did not know what kind of treasure this 10,000 amplification formation was, he would be too stupid. So Wang Ba learned his formation skills from this. With this kind of treasure, it's not difficult to become a formation master. Lin Yi exclaimed. He then put the 10,000 amplification formation into the space of the jade pendant and handed it to Gui Dongxi to study. He needed to meet up with the will of heaven as soon as possible so that the will of heaven would not worry about him. Chapter 60-80. I see. That means the eternal tortoise is very talented in formations. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to set up a formation that even you can't see through. Alright, Senior Ghost, how do we leave this place? Can the miniature teleportation formation still be used? Lin Yi had already searched the stone room as he spoke, but he did not find any exit. It seemed like Wang Ba relied on teleportation to get in and out of this place. The teleportation formation is broken. It won't be fixed in a short time. Stay here quietly for now. The ghost was focused on studying the myriad amplification formation diagram. It did not have the time to fix the teleportation formation. Moreover, it could not fix it, at least not before it finished studying the myriad amplification formation diagram. Lin Yi was speechless. What did it mean by stay here quietly for now? Didn't it know that the will of heaven was anxiously waiting outside? Don't even think about destroying this stone room by force. Wang Ba has set up a formation outside. If you move here, the entire island might collapse. Don't blame me for not warning you when you can't get out. Just give me a day or two. I'll think of a way then. The ghost continued studying the myriad amplification formation diagram after saying that, not caring about what Lin Yi was thinking. Originally, Lin Yi wanted to force a way out, but he did not dare to do so after hearing the ghost's warning. It did not matter to him, but it would be troublesome if he buried the will of heaven here. Lin Yi had no choice but to take out the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle art and study it by himself. There were no follow-up problems with the stolen fortune battle art after it was combined with the art of dragon mastery. As long as Lin Yi continued to deduce it, he could continue to cultivate. However, with the original creation battle art as a reference, the deduction would be even more perfect. At first, Lin Yi only wanted to kill time and wait for the ghost, but after studying the creation battle art, he was completely immersed in it. The stolen fortune battle art was a mental cultivation method that Lin Yi had derived when he was in the foundation establishment stage. He had not modified it since. In fact, he should have derived it again when he reached the nascent soul stage. After all, the understanding of mental cultivation and cultivation between the two stages were completely different. This time, with the original creation battle art as a reference, Lin immediately discovered some shortcomings of the stolen fortune battle art. Actually, it was not that it was lacking. It was just that he could find a more perfect solution at a different level. Before he knew it, Lin Yi's Heaven's stolen fortune battle art had started to circulate on its own, and it was being perfected in the process. The spiritual energy around him was being guided, slowly gathering around Lin. Lin Yi, who had inadvertently entered the state of cultivation, instinctively felt that the spiritual energy around him was insufficient. With a wave of his hand, he took out a large pile of spiritual jades from the space of the jade pendant and piled them up in the stone room. At the same time, the spiritual energy in the space of the jade pendant was also transmitted into Lin Yi's body. The place where Lin Yi was now was the second place that Wang Ba used to practice in seclusion. With the appearance of a large pile of spiritual jades, a hidden spirit gathering formation was also activated. All the spiritual energy was gathered in the stone room and even formed a spiritual vortex, which was crazily absorbed by Lin Yi's body. Everything seemed to be natural. Lin Yi broke through the barrier of the peak of the late stage of mysterious ascension and officially stepped into the mysterious ascension great perfection with almost no effort. At the same time, the strength of his divine sense also rose. The two breakthroughs were at the same time, or it could be said that the two complemented each other. In the future, Lin Yi's advancement would probably be like this. It was completely different from the cultivators on the Heaven Stage Island. It was somewhat similar to the way the ancient underworld used divine sense to drive strength, but it was also not exactly the same. After entering the mysterious ascension great perfection, Lin Yi did not stop cultivating. Taking advantage of the opportunity of perfecting the stolen fortune battle art, his strength rose rapidly. In a short period of time, he had completely stabilized his strength and was constantly accumulating strength. As time passed, Lin Yi could feel that he was almost twice as strong as before he broke through, but he still did not touch the barrier of the mountain opening stage. It seemed that if he wanted to advance to the mountain opening stage in one go, he would need more accumulation. The spiritual jades in the stone room had completely turned into ashes, and the spiritual vortex had completely subsided. Lin Yi spat out a mouthful of turbid air and slowly opened his eyes. Why don't you use the mountain-gazing pill to break through in one go? The ghost thing had already stopped studying the myriad amplification formation diagram and asked curiously. Lin Yi had the top-grade mountain-gazing pill in his hands. If he had taken it just now, there was actually a high chance that he could break through. I feel that my accumulation is not enough. The time to advance to the mountain opening stage has not arrived yet. Let's talk about it after I cultivate for a while more. Lin Yi smiled slightly, stood up, and moved his body slightly. The feeling of strength made him very happy. The ghost thing did not say much. It was very good that Lin Yi could clearly understand himself. When he felt that the time was right, he would break through, and it would definitely be much stronger than breaking through now. Senior Ghost, how long did I take to break through? Can I go out now? Lin Yi did not continue to cultivate. He also had the intention of leaving this place as soon as possible to meet with the will of heaven, so he immediately asked the ghost thing. It has only been a day. I have already studied this teleportation formation. It seems that there is no way to repair it. We can only start with the formation here. I will tell you how to break it. The ghost thing was itself a formation master, so it was extremely fast in studying the myriad amplification formation diagram. Moreover, it had a clear direction, so it found a way to break the formation within a day. Lin Yi agreed and was ready to cooperate with the ghost thing to break the formation. Suddenly, the ghost thing changed its mind. Lin Yi, I think we should not go out for the time being. But Lin Yi asked with some doubts. Then, the ghost thing shared its divine sense with Lin Yi, which made him instantly speechless. The location of this stone room was actually very close to the top of the island. It should have been specially built by Wang Ba to feel the spiritual qi of heaven and earth and to cultivate the creation battle art. The problem was that it was now high tide, and the entire island had sunk into the sea. Through the divine sense of the ghost, Lin Yi could clearly see that there were dozens of sea beasts surrounding the island. Among them, there was an earth opening stage sea beast and 2 mountain opening stage sea beasts. Although this sea area was still within the range of the Middle Island, it was definitely not the safe sea area of the Middle Island. It was not strange at all for these sea beasts to appear, but the strange thing was, why did they gather here? Could it be that they were attracted by the movement when Lin Yi broke through? In fact, it did not matter if Lin Yi was cultivating, but the previous breakthrough was a little shocking. The fluctuation of the spiritual qi was so intense that it attracted the nearby sea beasts. Chapter 6081. If there were only these sea beasts in front of him, Lin Yi was confident that he could escape. Unfortunately, there seemed to be more sea beasts gathering in the distance. If he broke out of the formation now and was delayed for a few breaths, he would be in a very bad situation. Unfortunately, it was not a matter of whether Lin Yi wanted to go out or not. After the sea beasts swam around the island for a few rounds, they directly attacked the island. This kind of island could be easily destroyed by a few sea beasts of the profound ascension stage. However, with so many sea beasts, including the sea beasts of the mountain opening stage and the earth opening stage attacking at the same time, they could not damage the island immediately. This was because when they attacked, the entire island was covered with a light film of a defensive formation, which temporarily blocked all the attacks. This is the defensive formation that Wang Ba set up in the past? Lin Yi was surprised and happy. He did not expect that after 10,000 years, that bastard Wang Ba's defensive formation would still work. Moreover, he and the ghost did not notice the existence of this defensive formation before. The concealment formation on the island was indeed deliberately made by Wang Ba to look like it was damaged naturally. Otherwise, no one would be able to find this place at all. This formation can't hold for long. Let's go. The ghost had studied the myriad amplification formation chart, so it naturally knew the weakness of this defensive formation. It might take a lot of time for an Earth opening stage sea beast to break this defensive formation. However, with 2 mountain opening stage sea beasts and so many profound ascension stage and nascent soul stage sea beasts, it would only last for about 15 minutes at most. While the defensive formation could still hold, they should immediately leave this place and fly out of the sea with the flying saucer. That would basically guarantee their safety. Senior Ghost, is the will of heaven still here? Lin Yi also wanted to take this opportunity to leave this place, but before he left, he had to confirm the location of the will of heaven. His divine sense did not have the ghost's help, so there was no way for him to leave this stone room. Naturally, he could not smoothly search for the will of heaven. He's still in the stone room that you teleported out from. He probably thinks that you will return there. The ghost said helplessly. It was not a short distance from here to there, but Lin Yi had the lightning escape skill. As long as he could leave this formation, it would be very fast. The only problem was that it didn't seem easy to get out of this array formation. Let's find the will of heaven first. We can't leave him here. Once the island's defense formation collapses, he will definitely be buried alive at the bottom of the sea. Lin Yi made a prompt decision and immediately made the decision to meet up with the will of heaven. The ghost knew that there was no point in objecting, so it stopped talking nonsense and directly taught Lin Yi how to break out of the formation. At this time, Lin Yi especially wanted a batch of good array flags, which would be much more convenient to use to break the array. Without suitable array flags, he could only use stupid methods to break the array with the ghost's explanation, which was relatively inefficient. The entire island trembled slightly. It seemed that the defensive formation that Wang Ba had set up could not completely block the attacks of the sea beasts. No one knew who would break the formation faster. The will of heaven also felt that something was wrong. He had already left the stone room and quickly retreated to the way he came. In this way, the time for Lin Yi to meet up with him would be shorter. After a dozen breaths, the will of heaven returned to the entrance of the island. Because of the restriction, the seawater did not flood in, but he could see the situation outside. There were so many sea beasts, and almost 70% of them were stronger than him. Not to mention that he was under the sea. Even if he was on land, he would not be able to escape from the siege of these sea beasts. Lin Yi, it seems that I can't wait for you to come back. I hope I don't meet you on the way to reincarnation. The will of heaven smiled. He did not care too much about the crisis in front of him. Since ancient times, everyone would die. He just had to kill a few more sea beasts to be his scapegoats. The only thing that the will of heaven regretted was that he could not confirm Lin Yi's safety. If he had not asked for help from Lin Yi would not be in such a situation. Now, the will of heaven only needed to wait for the defensive formation to be broken. He would use all his strength to kill as many sea beasts as he could. As for running away, he did not even think about it. With the strength of the will of heaven, facing sea beasts in the mountain opening stage and the earth opening stage, he would only die faster if he tried to run away. Time passed slowly under the gaze of the will of heaven. Seeing that the defensive formation was on the verge of breaking, he became more focused. He did not notice that a figure had silently appeared behind him. "Brother Heaven." Lin Yi reached out and patted the will of heaven's shoulder. However, the latter was so scared that he almost jumped. "Lin, you're fine. That's great." The will of heaven almost threw the long-prepared attack behind him. Fortunately, Lin Yi's voice sounded in time. This time, he stopped in time. Lin Yi did not think too much about it. Seeing the will of heaven's surprised expression, he was quite touched. If the will of heaven did not wait for him, he would not be trapped here. "Brother Heaven, I have made you worry. Let's get ready to leave." Lin Yi smiled and looked up at the sea beasts outside the defensive formation. After a period of time, many sea beasts had joined in. Fortunately, there were no new sea beasts in the earth opening stage. This was good news for Lin Yi. "Lin Yi, there are too many sea beasts outside. Don't worry about me. Leave if you can. Don't hesitate. Otherwise, none of us will be able to leave." The smile on the will of heaven's face disappeared. He looked at Lin Yi and said solemnly. Lin Yi was slightly startled. Then he understood that the will of heaven was worried about dragging him down. However, if it was only an earth opening stage sea beast, there was still a chance to get rid of it. "Brother Heaven, don't worry. I am sure that I can leave with you." Lin Yi waved his hand and did not explain. However, his strong self-confidence had infected the will of heaven. "In that case, we brothers will fight together." The will of heaven smiled again. He reached out and bumped fists with Lin Yi. However, he had already made up his mind. If the situation was not good, he would stay and buy time for Lin Yi to escape from this island. Speaking of which, the will of heaven did not know that Lin Yi had a flying saucer. He had always thought that after Lin Yi rushed out of the sea with him, they would find a nearby island to stay temporarily. As long as they were not under the sea beasts would not bother them. If it were not for the fact that the defensive formation could not hold up, and the tide would need at least an hour, the will of heaven would never let Lin Yi go out and take risks. Chapter 6082. At the same time, the most powerful earth opening stage sea beast happened to swim in another direction, which was relatively far away. In Lin Yi's view, this was the best opportunity. The defensive array formation was not facing the inside, so Lin Yi and the will of heaven rushed out of the defensive array formation without any hindrance. They were about to face another wave of sea beasts that were about to descend. Lin Yi circulated his innate qi and released the lightning arcs that he had already prepared. More than 10 lightning arcs instantly spread out in the water, and the originally dim water surface suddenly became as bright as day. Some of the surrounding sea beasts were affected by the lightning arcs, and their bodies fell into a temporary state of paralysis. Lin Yi activated the lightning evasion technique, and along with the will of heaven, he followed an upward lightning arc and escaped the attack range of the sea beasts at the critical moment. Until now, Lin Yi had only used the lightning evasion technique by himself, and he was not sure if he could bring others with him. Fortunately, he did not gamble wrong this time. Although with the will of heaven, the distance of the lightning evasion technique was shortened a lot, but at least he did not fail. The wave of attacks that Lin Yi had dodged landed on the defensive array formation, and finally, the layer of light film was completely torn apart. If the two of them had hesitated for even a moment, they would have faced the siege of all the sea beasts. When the sea beasts that were not affected by the lightning arcs discovered that Lin Yi had escaped, they began to madly chase after them, and all kinds of attack waves were constantly exploding in the water, causing many irregular giant waves to rise on the sea surface. Lin Yi and the will of heaven should be able to escape from the sea after using the lightning evasion technique, After all, the high tide would not really rise too much, and the highest point of the island that was submerged in the sea was only about a meter above the sea surface. But because of the violent attack of the sea beasts, the momentum that Lin Yi estimated did not appear. He rose dozens of meters, but was still in the middle of a giant wave, and along with this giant wave, he slid down again. Lin Yi spread out his divine sense, and after finding the direction, he once again shot out a lightning arc, and brought the will of heaven dozens of meters horizontally, wanting to take out the UFO, but there was still no chance, because there were too many sea beasts gathered in the sea, and these sea beasts were very smart. After realizing that Lin Yi was using the lightning evasion technique, they began to attack the entire area. No matter how fast the lightning evasion technique was, as long as they did not leave the area, it would not be able to avoid such dense attacks. If Lin Yi took out the UFO now, he would only become the target of the sea beasts. Although the defense of the UFO had greatly increased after fusing with the starry sky flowing flame gold, Lin Yi did not dare to use it to resist the attacks of the sea beasts. One or two would be fine, but hundreds of sea beasts, no matter how much starry sky flowing flame gold he had, it would be useless. Lin Yi's eyes turned slightly cold. If he was alone, he could use the lightning evasion technique to move continuously, and he might be able to quickly escape the attack of the sea beasts. But if he brought the will of heaven along, it would be a great hindrance to the lightning evasion technique, because he also had to protect the will of heaven from being injured by the lightning. Lin Yi's true qi and mental strength were both greatly consumed. Since he could not leave, then he would not leave. 1,000 thunderbolt explosions. This was one of Lin Yi's most powerful trump cards, and in dealing with a group attack situation, it was absolutely worthy of being the number one. Countless dark blue lightning arcs poured down on the surface of the sea, and after the small lightning arcs exploded, they continuously jumped on the surface of the water, and the sea beasts in the area immediately issued mournful cries. A large number of sea beasts under Lin Yi's attack were torn open, and finally fell without any suspense. The will of heaven was under Lin Yi's protection, so he was not affected by the 1,000 thunderbolt explosions, but he was still shocked by the destructive power of this move. He had always known that Lin Yi was very strong, but now he had the most direct experience. Lin Yi did not continue to be entangled, and took advantage of the 1,000 thunderbolt explosions clearing the sea beasts in the area, and temporarily intimidating the sea beasts outside the range. He immediately took out the UFO, activated it, and entered it with the will of heaven. If he was alone, he might have killed all the sea beasts here, and then collected the sea beast cores, but now, Lin Yi did not even touch the dead sea beasts. After entering the UFO, he immediately controlled the UFO to fly thousands of miles away. Compared to the harvest this time, a few sea beast cores were not worth mentioning. The most important thing now was to ensure the safety of the will of heaven, and let him continue to cultivate the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle art. Lin Yi, it's all thanks to you that we can escape unscathed this time. The will of heaven came to Lin Yi's side, and expressed his sincere gratitude. Although he could not find the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle art in the end, being able to escape unscathed with Lin Yi was enough for him to be satisfied. Brother Heaven, don't be so polite. If you weren't waiting for me, you could have left that island unscathed. Lin Yi smiled and waved his hand at the will of heaven. From the UFO's monitor screen, many sea beasts could be seen gathering in the same direction. If Lin Yi and the others did not leave in time, they would have to face a new wave of sea beasts. Thinking of what he got from Wang Ba, Lin Yi took out 2 jade boxes and handed them to the will of heaven. Brother Heaven, this is the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle art. I've read it, and there's no problem with it. It's a pity that I can only cultivate it to the earth opening stage. If I want to break through to the sea splitting stage, I'll have to continue looking for the follow-up mental cultivation method. The other jade box contains Wang Ba's cultivation experience. Take a look and see if there's any value in it. You found the follow-up mental cultivation method of the creation battle art. Tianxing was pleasantly surprised, quickly taking the 2 jade boxes with both hands. He'd thought that he wouldn't be able to find the art this time, and could only come back next time when he had the chance. He didn't think that Lin Yi would take it out right away. Yes, that bastard Wang Ba hid it in another cultivation room. If he didn't want to escape, it wouldn't have been easy to find it. You can take a look at the cultivation experience, but don't take it too seriously. Wang Ba doesn't walk the same path as we do. Lin Yi smiled faintly and briefly mentioned his thoughts. He believed that the will of heaven could understand what he meant. That's right. We cultivate the creation battle art in an upright way, but Wang Ba is more shady. His cultivation experience has no value. The will of heaven confirmed which book was Wang Ba's cultivation experience. He put his palms together and turned the book into powder with a surge of vital qi. To the will of heaven, he had to walk his own path. Wang Ba was not qualified to guide him. Lin Yi was deeply moved by the pride that emanated from the depths of his heart. He believed that with the follow-up mental cultivation method, the will of heaven would be able to improve his strength quickly. Chapter 6083. No, the teleportation circle he set up could only transport one person, so his spirit was torn apart during the teleportation. Lin Yi replied calmly, but he was still a little scared. If it wasn't for the ghost that helped him with the Xianxia soul condensing liquid in time, he and Wang Ba might have died together. Lin Yi looked at Wang Ba calmly. That's good. If he escapes, he'll be a problem in the future. The will of heaven nodded. He was relieved to know that Wang Ba was dead. Wang Ba was a scheming person. Once he escaped, he would definitely seek revenge on Lin Yi in the future, and it was highly likely that Tian Chan and the others would be involved. As they were talking, they were approaching Middle Island. Lin Yi didn't fly into the central area, but put away the flying saucer at the edge of Middle Island. The will of heaven already knew that it was a flying device Han Jingjing made for Lin Yi. He was amazed at Jingjing's talent and wondered if he should ask her for a flying device when she woke up. It would be more convenient for her to go out in the future. The two of them returned to the Heavenly Dan Pavilion together. In the time that they had left, nothing major had happened on the Middle Island. Everything was calm and peaceful, and Han Jingjing's condition did not show any signs of improving. Tian Xing was anxious to cultivate the creation battle art, so after visiting Han Jingjing, he quickly bid farewell and left. Lin Yi stayed in Han Jingjing's room and frowned. He turned to Tian Chan and asked, "Any reply from the secular world?" "No, and the executives of the Central Chamber of Commerce in Middle Island aren't around these 2 days. I can't even ask them." Tian Chan shook her head helplessly. She didn't know if it was because Min Huichen kept asking about the reply, but Kong Ming and the others disappeared. Lin Yi paused. He didn't suspect that the people from the Chamber of Commerce were purposely avoiding him. If Kong Xiaoming could do something like this, then Zhong Pingliang definitely wouldn't. The Chamber of Commerce probably had some new plans, and they were all gathered here. Unfortunately, there was no news from Pingliang, and Lin Yi couldn't make any conclusions. He could only hope that it wasn't related to Nanzhou's plan. Did the people from the Central Chamber of Commerce say when they will come back? Lin Yi asked casually, but he was thinking whether he should leave for the South Continent immediately. Although Shanghai Tianhua didn't set a time limit for Lin Yi to explore the South Continent, it was better to finish this kind of thing as soon as possible. Besides, Lin Yi still had to go to the East Continent with Shanghai later, so there was a time limit. Min Huichen said they'll be back in 2 days. They shouldn't be going somewhere too far. They're just leaving for a while. Tian Chan didn't think that the return of the Central Chamber of Commerce's higher-ups would be any different. The key to this matter was whether there was any news from the common world about Han Jingjing. Lin Yi, maybe we should ask Okuda Island Master for a solution. Going back to the common world is better than waiting here, right? Tian Chan hesitated for a while, but she still brought up this idea. She didn't want Lin Yi to go back to the common world again. Last time, he left for 2 to 3 years. Who knew how long it would take this time? But if Han Jingjing couldn't come back, it was necessary for Lin Yi to go back to the common world. You're right. I'll ask Okuda Island Master later. Lin Yi nodded, but he didn't have much hope. Primordial spirit projection couldn't be used anytime and anywhere. He just came back not long ago. Even if Okuda Island Master wanted to help, it was hard to say if he could use primordial spirit projection. As the two of them were talking, Lan Guja ran over and stuck his head out of the door to take a look. Then he whispered, "Boss, can I tell you something?" Lin Yi was slightly stunned. What was this guy trying to do? He had always been a straightforward person. Why did he change his style today? Say it. Lin Yi waved his hand and gestured for him to come in. Tian Chan wasn't an outsider, so there was no need to hide anything. Boss, it's like this. Sister-in-law Jingjing still needs you to accompany her for the time being, so I'm thinking if we should bring Fei Yi and the others to the South Continent to take a look and gather information from all aspects for Boss. When the time comes, when Boss gets there, you'll be able to do things very easily. Languza ran in happily and said with a face full of smiles. You want to go to the Southern Continent? Lin Yi looked at Languza with some surprise. When did this guy start to be interested in things other than eating, fighting, and so on? Hee, I just want to share the burden for you, boss. Moreover, those guys have nothing to do in Middle Island. They might cause trouble. Let me bring them to the Southern Continent. Maybe they can be of some use. Languza said with a smile. However, Lin Yi felt that this proposal was indeed feasible. Tian Chan couldn't help but want to laugh. Languza was the one who had nothing to do all day and might cause trouble himself. But this guy could still put the blame on others with a straight face. How Zili and the others were controlled by Lin. They were cautious in everything they did. They were afraid of making Lin Yi unhappy. They were definitely the opposite of Languza. What you said makes sense. In that case, you take the three of them to the Southern Continent. First, collect all kinds of intelligence information for me. Lin Yi smiled slightly. He guessed that Languza was bored in Middle Island, so he wanted to go to the Southern Continent to find something to do. If this guy went alone, Lin Yi really didn't dare to expect him to be of any help. However, with how Zili, Min Huichen, and the others going together, it should be a lot of help. They were all unfamiliar faces in the Southern Continent. Fei Yi was a flying spiritual beast that could transform. It was very convenient for them to move. Maybe when Lin Yi went there, they had already collected enough intelligence. Rest assured, boss. With me, Languza, it will definitely be done properly. When Languza heard Lin Yi's promise, he suddenly beamed with joy. He patted his chest hard and promised loudly. In fact, this time, Languza really wanted to do something for Lin Yi. Of course, going to the Southern Continent to fool around was also one of the purposes. More importantly, Languza could bring 3 followers with him. When the boss was not around, he would be the leader. It would be interesting to go out and show off. Remember, when you go to the Southern Continent, you must not expose your purpose. Don't act rashly. Don't alert the enemy. Just inquire and collect information secretly, understand? Lin Yi warned solemnly. These things were not difficult, so he could rest assured if Languza and the others went there. Chapter 6084. Let's go. I'll tell how Zili and the others. Lin Yi waved his hand and went downstairs with Languza. He summoned Hao Zili and the other 2 and repeated what he had just said. Hao Zili and the others were secretly happy. This kind of opportunity to work for Lin Yi was quite rare. If they did it well, they might get the antidote directly and get out of the abyss of suffering. Therefore, they were all ready to go through water and tread on fire. Lin Yi laughed in his heart. Languza suddenly proposed to go to the South Island, and these guys were probably one of the people behind it. They should have accidentally heard from Languza that Lin Yi would go to the South Continent to do something, and then instigated Languza to ask for the task. He knew that they wanted to do a few beautiful things and then ask Lin Yi to detoxify, so it was just right for them to solve Lin Yi's dilemma. It was convenient to have powerful subordinates, and he didn't need to do everything by himself. At this moment, Lin Yi was even more determined to train more younger brothers to grow up quickly. After saying goodbye to Lin, Languza and the other 3 left the Middle Island directly. Before coming to ask Lin Yi, he had already purchased enough food, so he left very quickly. For a moment, the Tiandan Pavilion became deserted again. With Languza and the others going to the South Continent to collect information first, Lin Yi could also stay in the Middle Island with more peace of mind to look after Han Jingjing and study the formation diagram of thousand amplification. With the guidance of the ghost beside him, his understanding of formation also improved by leaps and bounds. A few days later, the Central Chamber of Commerce finally sent a reply from the secular world. Lin Yi quickly opened it and read it, But he learned that there was no trace of Han Jingjing in the secular world for the time being. Not in the secular world? Where on earth did Jingjing go? Lin Yi frowned and was extremely upset. Tian Chan and Sydney looked at each other. For a moment, they didn't know how to comfort Lin Yi, so they could only remain silent for the time being. Lin Yi let out a long sigh. 2 days ago, he went to Okuda Prefecture and asked if he could project his primordial spirit in the near future. Unfortunately, Okuda Prefecture told Lin Yi very clearly that it would be impossible for at least half a year. This also made Lin Yi give up the idea of returning to the secular world to find Han Jingjing. Where did Han Jingjing go? Other than herself, no one would be able to guess this question. When she returned to Heaven Island, Han Jingjing's mind was filled with information about the wormhole, so her mind was completely attracted by the wormhole. Unknowingly, she actually arrived in a wonderful space. In this space, everything was full of illusory colors. Han Jingjing herself was a primordial spirit, but in this space, she was further turned into countless tiny particles. There were countless other particles constantly shuttling back and forth around her. Fortunately, there was no intersection or conflict with Han Jingjing. Under Han Jingjing's conscious control, every particle that her primordial spirit turned into seemed to have a trace of its own will. Unlike other particles that were straightforward, Han Jingjing's particles began to wander around as if exploring a new world. In the beginning, Han Jingjing was still worried that other particle clusters would have some unnecessary collision with her primordial spirit particles, leading to some uncontrollable changes, so she was very careful when moving. But slowly, she discovered that there seemed to be some special connection between all the particle clusters, just like her primordial spirit particles. Although they were scattered, no matter how they moved, they would not leave a certain range. Even if Han Jingjing's primordial spirit particles deliberately passed through other particle clusters, nothing bad happened. Wandering in this wonderful illusory space, Han Jingjing did not know how much time had passed. Gradually, she became a little tired of the state of particles. When she had this thought, those scattered particles began to quickly gather together, and soon, Han Jingjing's primordial spirit body was restored. What a wonderful place. This should be the wormhole, right? Han Jingjing raised her palm and said to herself with a smile. She never thought that she would appear in a wormhole. After wandering before, Han Jingjing's research on wormholes had a qualitative leap. If her physical body entered a wormhole, she was afraid that it would disintegrate in an instant. Even if it could be reassembled, it would at most be a broken corpse. But in the primordial spirit state, there was no danger. Well, at least for now, there was no danger. It seemed that using the wormhole to travel between Heaven Island and the secular world seemed to be safer than using the primordial spirit projection. However, whether there was a requirement for the strength of the primordial spirit required further research. It's so strange, why did I suddenly come to a wormhole? Han Jingjing, who had woken up from her research, thought about how she appeared here. After floating around casually, Han Jingjing nodded and said to herself, "It should be like this." When returning to Heaven Island, if I only thought about my main body, I could go back smoothly. But at that time, I was thinking about the wormhole, so I entered the wormhole. Could it be that the way to enter the wormhole with the primordial spirit is to think about the wormhole? That's not right. It should be that only when returning to the state of my main body on Heaven Island can I think about the wormhole. I can't go back. Big Brother Lin Yi must be very worried, right? I have to go back as soon as possible. Han Jingjing suddenly stopped in the endless void and slapped her forehead. The problem was, how could she get out of this wormhole? Han Jingjing tried to return to Heaven Island, but unfortunately, no matter how much she thought about her main body, there was no effect. It seems that this method won't work in the wormhole. I can only do this. Han Jingjing snapped her fingers, and the primordial spirit instantly dissipated, turning back into countless particles, forming an almost invisible particle cluster. Time couldn't be felt in the illusory space, and there was no direction at all. But based on the flow of particles around, Han Jingjing judged that the exit of the wormhole must be on the route of the movement of many particles. The only question now was, which direction should she choose? After a moment, Han Jingjing put aside this question and randomly chose a direction to move in. Since this wormhole connected Heaven Island and the secular world, it didn't matter. It was the same no matter which way she went out. Even if she returned to the secular world, it would be very easy to return to Heaven Island. It was just that she didn't know how long it would take to get out this time. Big brother Lin Yi, don't worry, Jingjing will be back to find you soon. Chapter 6085. The Middle Island pier became lively instantly. Countless goods were unloaded from the treasure ship and then sent to their respective owners' homes. For a time, the central area became crowded and noisy. Lin Yi sensed the changes outside and released his divine senses. He found that Wei Shenjin, Hou Guanqi, Kai Zhongyang, and others had already gotten off the ship and were saying goodbye to Okuda Dam. So, he didn't go over to join in the fun. It was not too late to say hello to them when it was quieter. In addition to these people, Lin Yi also saw Hong Zhong. This time, he didn't stay in the North Island. Instead, he went directly to the Middle Island. Maybe he was going to the headquarters of the Hong Chamber of Commerce to do something. After they got out of the pier, they separated. Kai Zhongyang and others had a lot of goods to deal with. Only Wei Shenjin was not in a hurry to return to the Snow Sword School, so he went directly to the Tiandan Pavilion. He probably wanted to visit Lin Yi first before going back. Shang Yuhua was originally with him, but there were a lot of things in the Universal Chamber of Commerce. In order to help her father, she had to temporarily separate from Wei Shenjin. Fortunately, they had returned to the Middle Island. If they wanted to see each other in the future, there would be many opportunities, so they were not in a hurry. After a short while, Wei Shenjin arrived at the Tiandan Pavilion. Tian Chan directly asked him to go upstairs to see Lin. They were all on the same side, so there was no need to worry. Seeing Lin Yi, Wei Shenjin immediately smiled and hurriedly walked forward with his hands folded, bowed and said, "Boss, I'm back." "Well, don't be so polite to me. Look at your happy face. You must have a good relationship with Shang Yuhua, right?" Lin Yi smiled and waved his hand to signal Wei Shenjin to sit down and talk. "Thank you, boss." Wei Shenjin blushed and thanked him sincerely. Then he turned around and sat down. After experiencing the failure of previous relationships, Wei Shenjin cherished Shang Yuhua from the bottom of his heart, so he was even more grateful for Lin Yi's help. "It has nothing to do with me. This is your fate. Shang Yuhua is a good girl. Treat her well and don't let her down." Lin Yi reminded him with a smile. Wei Shenjin was like a different person compared to before. He believed that he and Shang Yuhua would have a bright future. Wei Shenjin solemnly nodded in agreement and then asked about Han Jingjing's situation. Lin Yi was not interested in this topic, so he casually said a few words and stopped. Knowing that the spirit gathering branch had failed to awaken Han Jingjing, Wei Shenjin immediately felt a little upset. He knew how much effort Lin Yi had put in to obtain the spirit gathering branch. Did everything go well on the way back? Did anything happen? Lin Yi didn't want the atmosphere to be heavy, so he changed the topic. Wei Shenjin thought for a moment and said, "Nothing major happened. It was calm along the way, but I heard that shopkeeper Hong and Wei Jiading had some small verbal conflicts. This time, shopkeeper Hong came to Zhongdao. Maybe he will be targeted by Wei Jiading." Wei Jiading is just a clown. It's nothing great. After all, Brother Hong is a member of the Hong family. I don't think he will have any problems. Lin Yi smiled faintly and didn't care too much. Lin Yi didn't take a mere Wei Jiading seriously at all. Although he was only the honorary vice president of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, in terms of influence, perhaps 10 Wei Jiading were not as good as Lin Yi. No Chamber of Commerce would offend a second-level mystic stage alchemist for a vice president. With the relationship between Lin Yi and Hong Zhong, as long as the senior management of the Hong Chamber of Commerce were not stupid, they would know how to treat Hong Zhong. Unfortunately, Wei Jiading didn't seem to recognize this fact. As soon as he returned to Zhongdao, he began to visit some of the real power figures of the Hong Chamber of Commerce. The high-tech products of the Central Chamber of Commerce that he bought from the North Island were used to make friends with these people. While sending out a large number of gifts, Wei Jiading also hinted that he wanted to impeach Hong Zhong. As a strong supporter of the second branch of the Hong family, it seemed logical to deal with Hong Zhong, a supporter of the first branch, so the people of the Hong Chamber of Commerce did not find it strange. Originally, they were neutral. Under the premise that it did not affect the overall situation, they could support whoever gave more benefits. Since they had received benefits from Wei Jiating, it was not a big deal to show a little support. Although there was no clear statement, Wei Jiating was already satisfied. This time, dealing with Hong Zhong, in his opinion, was already in the bag. Now he had to strike the iron while it was hot, hold a meeting as soon as possible, and get rid of Hong Zhong completely, so as not to cause trouble. Before the sky turned dark, Wei Jiating, who was jumping up and down, completed the alliance in his mind. He immediately called for an emergency meeting in his capacity as the vice president of the Hong Chamber of Commerce. The topic of the meeting was to remove Hong Zhong from all his duties and launch a thorough investigation on him. Everyone. When Hong Zhong was the shopkeeper of the North Island, he colluded with outsiders, engaged in malpractice for personal gains, and embezzled the interests of the Hong Chamber of Commerce into his own. If we don't get rid of this black sheep, how can we let the Hong Chamber of Commerce continue to develop? Wei Jiating stood in the conference room, waving his arms with an impassioned expression. The senior management of the Hong Chamber of Commerce who attended the meeting listened and watched expressionlessly, and no one expressed their opinion for the time being. Not only that, but Hong Zhong also colluded with outsiders and threatened me, the vice president of the headquarters, with force. This is outrageous. I'm not a vengeful person. If he could bring benefits to our Hong Chamber of Commerce, I wouldn't be calculative about such a small matter. However, his traitorous behavior not only greatly damaged the interests of our Hong Chamber of Commerce, but he also ruined our reputation. I think that even if Hong Zhong were to be stripped of all his duties, it wouldn't be able to make up for his mistake. Wei Jiating continued his performance. He was even more unscrupulous in his accusations against Hong Zhong. Anyway, he had communicated with most of the senior management. As long as more than half of them supported him, he could make Hong Zhong completely unable to make a comeback. Wei Jiating felt that he had already won, and his eyes were full of disdain and complacency as he looked at Hong Zhong. Hong Zhong, what else do you want to say? After finishing his long speech, Wei Jiating stared at Hong Zhong with a sneer. Although he was asking, his tone was no different from a conclusion. If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. I, Hong Zhong, am upright and have a clear conscience. If you want to dismiss me, you don't have to talk so much nonsense. Show me the evidence, and I'll leave by myself. Hong Zhong smiled indifferently and looked at Wei Jiating disdainfully. His words were resolute, and he had an imposing manner without being angry. Chapter 6086. You don't have to make yourself sound so great. Of course, I have the evidence. However, there is no need for me to take it out now. I believe that everyone here is quite clear about this matter. They have also seen through your character. Therefore, there is no need for us to discuss any further. We can directly give you a verdict. Wei Jiating snorted coldly and decided to avoid the strong points and attack the weak points. He wanted to take Hong Zhong down to the ground quickly. As long as more than half of the people here agreed with his suggestion, Hong Zhong's dismissal would be a done deal. Even the chairman of the Hong Consortium wouldn't be able to reverse the situation. You have the evidence but don't want to take it out? Do you think that the Hong Consortium is the property of your Wei family? Hong Zhong sneered. His simple words made Wei Jiating feel extremely uncomfortable. Most of the higher-ups of the Hong Consortium were from the Hong family. Hong Zhong's words were extremely harsh. Even the people behind Wei Jiating would inevitably feel dissatisfied. Since when did the authority of the Hong Consortium allow an outsider to dictate what to do? Would he really change his surname one day? Wei Jiating's back instantly broke out in cold sweat. Hong Zhong's obvious provocation might not be effective now, but it would plant a seed of suspicion in the hearts of the higher-ups of the Hong Chamber of Commerce. Once Wei Jiating made any mistakes in the future, it would definitely be magnified by several times or even dozens of times. Don't try to drive a wedge between us. The Hong Consortium is of course the property of the Hong family, and it will always be the property of the Hong family. Although I, Wei Jiating, do not have the surname Hong, I am wholeheartedly for the Hong Consortium. I'm not like a traitor like you. Also, I don't have the final say in your matters. It's the joint decision of everyone here. Wei Jiating loudly interrupted Hong Zhong, then cupped his fists and bowed. He said to all the higher-ups of the Hong Consortium, "Everyone is clear about Hong Zhong's matter. I suggest that Hong Zhong be removed from all his duties and expelled from the Hong Consortium, never to be hired again. Immediately. What do you all think?" Wei Jiating felt that allowing Hong Zhong to continue speaking would only make the situation worse. Thus, he did not give him a chance to speak and directly asked the higher-ups of the Hong Consortium to express their views. To be honest, even Wei Jiating himself felt that it was child's play to dismiss a branch president so simply and crudely. However, more than half of the people here were on his side, and there were also some neutral people who had been bribed by him. Hong Zhong's people only made up a small portion, so Wei Jiating didn't care at all. It didn't matter even if he was pointing a deer at a horse. In his opinion, once the suggestion was made, it would immediately receive a large amount of support and agreement. The resolution would be passed at lightning speed and Hong Zhong would be completely kicked out of the Hong Chamber of Commerce. This would also become a preview of the Hong Chamber of Commerce's change. As long as they could successfully get rid of Hong Zhong, the next step would be to smoothly support the person behind him to take over. Unfortunately, the expected situation did not happen. After Wei Jiating finished speaking, he waited for a full minute or two, but no one spoke. Not to mention the neutral faction, even Wei Jiating's allies had their eyes lowered. They were either focused on drinking tea or seriously studying their fingers. Unexpectedly, no one expressed any intention of supporting him. It's too hasty to make a decision on this matter now. If Vice President Wei Jiating really has any evidence against Vice President Hong, then submit it for everyone to see. The first person to speak was someone from Hong Zhong's faction, Hong Quan, an elder of the Hong Chamber of Commerce. He had originally thought that Wei Jiating was so aggressive in targeting Hong Zhong that he should have already won. Therefore, they had already given up struggling and instead considered how to protect Hong Zhong and find a chance to stage a comeback in the future. Who knew that this was not the case at all? Not a single person supported Wei Jiating's suggestion. Hong Quan instantly perked up and immediately seized the opportunity to ask Wei Jiating to produce evidence. Wei Jiating was instantly dumbfounded. If he had evidence, why would he spend so much effort to send gifts? He had asked everyone to express their views so hastily to prevent Hong Zhong's people from coming out to refute. As long as more than half of the people agreed with his suggestion, no matter how good Hong Quan was at arguing, it would be useless. Wei Jiating, this matter will be put aside for now. Go and prepare the materials and evidence to impeach Hong Zhong. Hong Zhong is not allowed to leave Middle Island during this period. Let's call it a day. What do you think? An elder from the neutral faction waved his hand expressionlessly and put forward his own suggestion. He didn't specifically target Wei Jiating, nor did he particularly help Hong Zhong. He seemed to be very fair, but Wei Jiating almost vomited blood. This bastard didn't say that when he received the gifts. Why did he turn against him in the blink of an eye? Very well, let's do that. Wei Jiating, I'll give you 3 days to prepare. Is that enough? Let's hold another meeting to discuss this matter in 3 days. Let's call it a day. This time, it was the elder from Wei Jiating's faction who spoke directly. Normally, he should unconditionally support Wei Jiating, but for some reason, he also spoke like this. Wei Jiating really wanted to cry but had no tears. He had hastily called an impromptu meeting, but now it had become a farce. Everyone just sat down and said a few words, and then the meeting was called off. Was he in a hurry to be reincarnated? But there was no need to be in such a hurry, right? Hong Zhong was slightly surprised. He didn't expect that things would turn around suddenly. Although he didn't understand the reason, it didn't seem to be a bad thing. Without waiting for Wei Jiating's reaction, everyone stood up and began to leave. No one paid any attention to Wei Jiating, while Hong Quan and the others stared at Wei Jiating with disdain. Then, they pulled Hong Zhong and walked past him with their heads held high. Wei Jiating secretly gritted his teeth. He had no other way now. He could only figure out what had happened first. Fortunately, this matter was not over yet. 3 days later, Hong Zhong still couldn't escape the fate of being deposed. After a while, Wei Jiating quietly came to the home of his faction's elder and said with a resentful face, "What's the matter with you? Such a good opportunity to attack, but you don't come out to support me. Didn't we agree just now? And those neutral fence-sitters, they actually accepted the gifts but didn't do anything. It's simply outrageous. This elder was the one who spoke last just now. He was also a supporter of the second branch of the Hong family. His name was Hong Qin. After hearing Wei Jiating's complaints, he put down the teacup in his hand with a calm face and said, "What's the matter? Don't you know yourself?" "What do I know? Do I need to find you if I know?" Wei Jiating glared at Hong Qin angrily. They usually had a good relationship, so they didn't have much scruples when talking. Chapter 6087. What's going on? Tell me clearly. Why are you talking in riddles here? Wei Jiating was about to go crazy. They had already reached an agreement. Why did he have to fix it again? Hong Qin didn't speak. Instead, he turned his head and waved at the maidservant standing at the side. The maidservant had already received his orders. She immediately took out a few high-tech products from Wei Jiating and placed them on the coffee table beside him. "What do you mean? You think my gifts aren't good enough?" Wei Jiating was secretly annoyed. "If you are not satisfied, you should have said so earlier. What's more, the two of us are from the same faction. Even if I didn't give you anything, you should support me unconditionally." "I don't dare. The things you gave me are too good. I don't know how to use them. You should take them back and use them yourself." Hong Qin's face turned cold. Obviously, Wei Jiating's tone made him feel very unhappy, so he began to throw a tantrum. Wei Jiating suppressed the resentment in his heart and let out a long breath. He cupped his fists slightly and said, "Hong Qin, it's not the first time we've known each other. This isn't for myself. If you continue to talk like this, I really can't communicate with you. If there's anything I did wrong, just tell me. I'll change, okay?" "That's more like it." Hong Qin snorted. His expression became slightly better. He pointed at the high-tech products and said, "The things you gave me are all things that can't be used. If we hadn't known each other for so many years, I would have thought that you were looking down on me just by giving me these useless things. Do you understand what I mean?" "Impossible. It's you who don't know how to use them, right?" Wei Jiating was shocked. He grabbed a digital camera and studied it over and over again. There really wasn't any reaction. "Hong Qin, did you break it? Get lost. Do I need to talk nonsense with you over such trivial things?" Hong Qin glared and scolded. He picked up his teacup and drank his tea. He didn't want to continue talking to Wei Jiating. "How could this be? You mean that the things I gave to others are also broken?" Wei Jiating didn't continue to look at the other things. Cold sweat had already appeared on his forehead. "I'm not sure about that, but it's most likely correct. Otherwise, that kind of situation wouldn't have happened just now. What did you do? It doesn't matter if we're on the same side, but if we offend those from the neutral faction, wouldn't we be sending help to the other side for no reason?" Hong Qin had a disappointed look on his face. If the neutral faction had agreed to Wei Jiating's suggestion, even if he and the others were unhappy, they would have voiced their support for the sake of the bigger picture. However, the neutral faction did not agree. Clearly, there was a problem. Wei Jiating secretly wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, thinking that it was a close shave. Luckily, Hong Qin saw the opportunity quickly and agreed to postpone Hong Zhong's matter. Otherwise, he would have really missed this opportunity. "I understand. They didn't reject my proposal on the spot, which is already giving us face. I have to deal with this matter immediately. Maybe I have to go and apologize to them one by one. I'll go first. I'll come back to you later." Wei Jiating couldn't be bothered to say more. Now that he knew the crux of the matter, he had to quickly remedy it. "Take all your junk away. Don't put them here as an eyesore." Hong Qin waved his hand and asked Wei Jiating to take back all the things he gave him. If it wasn't for the bigger picture, he really didn't want to be nice to Wei Jiating. Wei Jiating smiled bitterly, put away those things, handed them to the attendants waiting at the door, and hurried to the homes of the neutral faction to explain. After going around, it was really because these high-tech products had problems. None of them could be used. It was already very kind of them that they didn't turn against him on the spot. Wei Jiating could only smile and apologize to them one by one. He took the things back and said that he would go to the Central Chamber of Commerce to settle accounts with them. Then he gave them gifts such as elixirs and spiritual herbs as an apology. It was already dark when he finally got all the things back. Wei Jiating didn't stop. He took a group of people and pulled 2 carts of things angrily to the Central Chamber of Commerce. Although he bought them in the North Island, it was the same to settle accounts with the Central Chamber of Commerce in the Middle Island. At this hour, the Central Chamber of Commerce hadn't closed yet, but there were not many guests. Wei Jiating came just in time. "Ask your shopkeeper to come out and see me." Wei Jiating entered the Central Chamber of Commerce and shouted at a shop assistant. The shop assistant shrunk his neck slightly. He was a native of the Middle Island and was hired by the Central Chamber of Commerce to work, so he knew Wei Jiating. He knew that this was the vice president of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, an absolute big shot. He hurriedly put on a smile and bowed. "Yo, isn't this Vice President Wei? What brings you here? Please come in, I'll serve you tea." Wei Jiating suddenly felt much better. He nodded slightly and said, "You have a good eye. All right, don't talk nonsense with me. Hurry up and find your shopkeeper." The shop assistant was good at observing people's words and body language. He could tell that Wei Jiating was in a bad mood and seemed to be looking for trouble. As a small shop assistant, he really couldn't bear the responsibility, so he didn't talk nonsense. He carefully excused himself and quickly went in to report the situation. Wei Jiating waved his hand and asked the people who followed him to unload the things and pile them in the lobby of the Central Chamber of Commerce. This guy was still a little annoyed. He felt that he should have come during the day. There were more people at that time, and it would have been more threatening. But now that he was here, there was no reason to go back and wait for tomorrow. He could only do this for now. Just as the things were unloaded, the shop assistant quickly ran out with a young man. If Linny was here, he would naturally recognize that it was Kong Mingming, whose position in the Chamber of Commerce was second only to Zhong Pingyang. But Wei Jiating didn't know who Kong Mingming was. He only felt that the Central Chamber of Commerce sent such a young guy here and didn't take him, the vice president of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, seriously at all. "Vice President Wei? What business do you have with our Central Chamber of Commerce?" Kong Mingming saw that the lobby was filled with the goods of the Central Chamber of Commerce. He could guess some of Wei Jiating's purpose, so he proudly cupped his hands in greeting. This guy always wanted to show off when he had nothing to do. Now that he had something to do, he naturally couldn't miss the opportunity. As for the Hong Chamber of Commerce, he really didn't care about it. "What is the Central Chamber of Commerce selling?" "I'm the vice president of the Hong Chamber of Commerce. You actually dare to fool me with a batch of defective goods? Do you think that the Central Chamber of Commerce has reached the point where it can bully its customers?" Wei Jiating's face darkened. He couldn't be bothered to ask who this arrogant guy was. He directly pointed at the pile of things and asked. Chapter 6088. The shop assistant was startled and hurriedly said with an apologetic smile, "Vice President Wei, what shopkeeper Kong is trying to say is there a misunderstanding here? As far as we know, we haven't sold a lot of goods to you recently. I wonder if you can provide us with the purchase receipt so that we can check it?" In fact, Kong Mingming was not the real shopkeeper of the Central Chamber of Commerce. He was just a part-time manager for a period of time, so this shop assistant rushed to speak. After all, they were the ones doing the business. If they offended a big customer, Kong Mingming could turn around and leave, but they couldn't be so unrestrained. Naturally, they had to nip it in the bud. Kong Mingming glared at the shop assistant discontentedly, but after thinking about it, what he said made sense. First, check if there was any problem with the receipt of the vice president. If they dared to blackmail the Central Chamber of Commerce, he would teach them a lesson and let them know why the flowers were so red. Wei Jiating was prepared. He took out the receipt issued by the North Island Central Chamber of Commerce and shook it. He pointed to the date on it and said, "Look carefully. It's your Chamber of Commerce, right? Although it was bought in the North Island, you promised that all branches would be the same." Kong Mingming grabbed the receipt, looked through it casually, and threw it back to Wei Jiating. "Okay, since you have the receipt, I'll help you check if there's any problem." Wei Jiating's face darkened. This bastard was too arrogant. How could he be a shopkeeper with such an attitude? Why hadn't the Central Chamber of Commerce closed down? If the Hong's Chamber of Commerce had such a shopkeeper, he would have caught him and killed him 100 times. Unless the arrogant person was his man, it would be a different story. Kong Ming told the shop assistant to find a maintenance staff. Because the Central Chamber of Commerce sold goods from the secular world, it also trained many talents in this field. Most of these people were people who couldn't practice or had extremely low levels of practice. Being able to get a decent job in the Central Chamber of Commerce, they naturally treasured it. Compared to Kong Xiaoming, who came from the common world, they were much more professional. Soon, the shop assistant hurried over with the middle-aged man. He put down the toolbox in his hand and began to repair it. Wei Jiating originally wanted to lose his temper. But now, he couldn't say anything, so he could only wait patiently. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the result came out. Shopkeeper Kong, Vice President Wei, there's a problem with this batch of goods. All the chips have been pierced by static electricity, causing the goods to be damaged. It'll be quite troublesome to repair them. Furthermore, this is not our Chamber of Commerce's responsibility, so we don't have to bear any costs. The middle-aged man packed up his tools and cupped his fists at Kong Ming and Wei Jiating. Kong Ming immediately became complacent. He laughed and looked at Wei Jiating. Vice President Wei, did you hear that? You broke something, and now you want to blackmail our Central Chamber of Commerce? Do you really think that our Central Chamber of Commerce is easy to bully? Bullshit. Do you think I would blackmail you for something like this? It is clear that your Central Chamber of Commerce sold defective goods to me, and you still refuse to admit it. This guy is also one of your people. No matter what he says, of course he's on your side. Do you really think I'm stupid? Wei Jiating exploded. He jumped up and pointed at Kong Ming as he roared. Wei Jiating didn't know what static electricity was. Anyway, he was sure that the Central Chamber of Commerce sold him defective goods. He had to vent his anger no matter what. Otherwise, as the vice president of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, how could he continue to stay in Middle Island? You idiot, do you think you're so smart? You want to use this kind of trick to ruin our Central Chamber of Commerce's reputation? What a joke. Kong Ming didn't back down. He also jumped up and pointed at Wei Jiating as he scolded. Kong Ming suddenly felt that Wei Jiating was jealous of the Central Chamber of Commerce's business. That's why he wanted to use this kind of method to destroy it. If he could settle this matter, it would be a great achievement. Maybe the higher-ups would be happy and let him lead Zhong Pingliang. Kong Ming originally wanted to find some trouble. Now that he had this idea, he couldn't stop himself. He hoped that Wei Jiating would quickly make a move so that he could take the opportunity to make a name for himself. Wei Jiating didn't know what Kong Ming was thinking. He was so angry that he laughed. He waved his hand and got his men to surround Kong Ming and the others. Kong, if you don't give me an explanation today, don't blame me for being impolite. What's the Central Chamber of Commerce? Why don't you find out what's the status of Middle Island's Hong Chamber of Commerce? How dare you trick us? You really don't know how to spell the word death. Wei Jiating laughed coldly and stared at Kong Ming. The Central Chamber of Commerce's business was good in Middle Island. However, they had never shown any outstanding strength. The original Chamber of Commerce tolerated them because they didn't have any conflict of interest with the Central Chamber of Commerce's products. Otherwise, they would have joined forces to suppress the Central Chamber of Commerce. Now, Wei Jiating felt that he should represent the old Chamber of Commerce in Middle Island to teach the Central Chamber of Commerce how to behave. They shouldn't think that they could bully the old Chamber of Commerce just because their business was good. However, Kong Ming wasn't shocked. Wei Jiating's reaction was exactly what he wanted. He was just worried that he didn't have an excuse to make a name for himself. Now, it came straight to his doorstep. Wei Jiating, you dare to come to our Central Chamber of Commerce and behave atrociously. It seems that you know how to spell the word death. Fine, I'll leave a deeper impression on you today. Kong Ming laughed and clapped his hands 3 times. In an instant, 10 figures suddenly rushed out from every corner of the Central Chamber of Commerce and surrounded Wei Jiating and his men. Before they could react, they directly launched an attack. Wei Jiating was shocked. Just as he got into a defensive posture, the followers he brought with him had already fallen to the ground. They didn't have the slightest ability to resist. Kong, you dare to attack me? All the big Chamber of Commerce in Middle Island won't let go of your Central Chamber of Commerce. Wei Jiating roared loudly. Unfortunately, it didn't have any effect on Kang Ming. He had the power in his hands. If he wasn't happy, he could beat him up. Kang Ming laughed strangely and joined the encirclement. While the masters of the Central Chamber of Commerce besieged Wei Jiating, he also went up to give them a few punches and kicks. His mood suddenly became indescribably comfortable. Wei Jiating was speechless. He could only groan and roll on the ground with his head in his hands. He really did not expect that the people from the Central Chamber of Commerce would dare to attack him so openly. Was there still any law? Chapter 6089. As the vice president of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, he was thrown onto the street like a dead dog. It was really embarrassing. Wei Jia covered his face and lay on the ground, looking at the door of the Central Chamber of Commerce slowly closing. He swore in his heart that he would definitely get revenge. Whether it was the Central Chamber of Commerce or that bastard Kang, he would kill them all. Because of this, Wei Jia went back to his backer in the Hong Chamber of Commerce and complained tearfully. He raised Kang Ming's behavior to the level of the Central Chamber of Commerce's hostility and contempt towards the Hong Chamber of Commerce. Then, the Hong Chamber of Commerce really started to take action against the Central Chamber of Commerce, and both sides entered a state of hostility. However, these were all things that happened later. At this point in time, Lin Yi had no idea that a small action of his would have such serious consequences. If he had known, he would definitely have advised Wei Jia to buy a few carts of things from the Central Chamber of Commerce. At this moment, Lin Yi was setting up a formation in the Tiandan Pavilion. In order to ensure that it would still be safe when he left Middle Island, Lin Yi took great pains. With the help of the ghost, he set up several level 6 defense formations, trapping formations, illusion formations, killing formations, and so on for the Tiandan Pavilion. If it weren't for the fact that he could only buy the formation flags for the mystic level formation, he would have asked the ghost to set up the earth level formation. Fortunately, within the range of Middle Island, there were enough level 6 formations. Especially since these level 6 formations were formed by the ghost's combination of his own formation skills and the 1000 amplification formation. Even an earth-level formation master would not be able to easily crack these formations. It was definitely more than enough to protect the Tiandan Pavilion. Through these few days of learning and assisting in setting up the formation, Lin Yi's formation skills had also made great progress. Even without the ghost, he was already a genuine mystic-level formation master, which was quite impressive. Lin Yi, when are you going to the South Continent? Tian Chan took the control formation flag from Lin Yi and pretended to ask casually. Languza and the others had been gone for a few days. Lin Yi obviously set up the formation to ensure the safety of the Tiandan Pavilion, which meant that he already had the idea of leaving. Lin Yi pondered for a moment and shook his head slightly. In a few days there may be new news from the secular world. The day he received the reply, Lin Yi sent another letter to the common world. Perhaps there would be a reply in a few days. They didn't have any news about Han Jingjing last time, but maybe they would this time? In addition to Han Jingjing's matters, Lin Yi was not idle these days. He was also asking about the transit station, as well as the whereabouts of Rock Candy, Song Lingrui, and the others. He had been on Heavenly Island for several years, and they had never appeared. Lin Yi had wandered around the islands, but he had not heard any news. There was an organization in the Middle Island that specialized in collecting and selling information. Lin Yi had not paid attention to it before, but when he visited Okuda State, he heard about it and immediately issued various tasks. What Lin Yi did not lack now was spirit jades. After spending a lot, all the tasks he issued became the most important and urgent. No matter what news he got, it was a happy situation for both sides. Tian Chan nodded and showed a faint smile on her face. She was naturally happy that Lin Yi could stay for a few more days. When Lin Yi finished setting up the formation of the Tiandan Pavilion, the medicine sect on the opposite side was discussing how to deal with Lin Yi. Zheng Dongxing, Zheng Dongjue, and Jing Tianqing were all present. This time, the Zheng family did not suffer heavy losses on the extreme North Island, but they definitely did not gain much. The only consolation was that the few elixirs refined by Lin Yi were very good, which could be considered to have made up for part of the loss. Lin Yi has already soared to the sky. I think it's better not to provoke him for the time being. Moreover, with the Hai Na Dan, our focus should also lean towards the East Continent. When we return to the East Continent, a mere Tiandan pavilion is nothing to worry about. Zheng Dongxing had obviously shifted his attention to how to curry favor with Zhuang Yifan, so he was very unwilling to continue to oppose Lin Yi, lest there be more complications. Cousin, what you're saying is wrong. Did you forget what Zhuang Yifan said in his letter? He and Lin Yi are obviously connected. How can a mere Hai Na Dan compare to Lin Yi? If we don't solve the problem, even if you return to the East Continent, I'm afraid you can't escape from the shadow of Lin Yi. Zheng Dongjue sneered. He did not dare to provoke Lin Yi now, but it was certainly impossible for Zheng Dongxing to leave without doing anything. Zheng Dongxing's face suddenly turned ugly. How could he not remember Zhuang Yifan's reply? There was only one sentence in the letter, which was extremely shocking and concise: "Fuck you." Hearing Zheng Dongjue's words, he really felt a little uncertain. Did he really have to get rid of Lin Yi first? Grandpa's Lin Yi is actually not a big deal. If we are not a match for him openly, then we can act secretly. I don't believe that this guy has no flaws. Among the three, Zheng Tianqing had the most resentment towards Lin Yi, so he was also the most determined to deal with Lin. In particular, this guy already had a powerful organization behind him. Even the northernmost island was almost destroyed by the organization, so what was a mere Lin Yi? After knowing that he would be the focus of the organization's training, Zheng Tianqing's confidence soared. The so-called action in the dark was just a pretense of modesty because it was not convenient to say it directly. This matter should be discussed at length, or according to the previous plan, we should slowly cut off Lin Yi's wings. Zheng Dongxing waved his hand and proposed a safe plan. This time, they did not look for Tong Woli to discuss with them. In fact, they felt that there was nothing to discuss. After all, it was just a few words. Zheng Dongjue could not come up with any good ideas at the moment, so he could only nod in agreement. At this moment, someone touched the restriction of the secret room, as if there was something urgent. Zheng Tianqing opened the restriction and walked out. He saw a disciple of the medicine sect standing respectfully outside, and asked with a slight impatience, "What's the matter? Don't you know that we are discussing important matters here?" "Greetings, young master, I know my mistake. However, shopkeeper Kong Ming of the Central Chamber of Commerce came to visit and asked to see you, young master. He said that there is a very urgent matter, so..." The disciple of the medicine sect cupped his fists and bowed, slightly nervous. Kong Ming of the Central Chamber of Commerce? I don't know him, what urgent matter could there be? Moreover, it is so late now, tell him to come tomorrow if he has something to do. Zheng Tianqing frowned slightly and did not want to talk to Kong Ming. Chapter 6090. There was basically no hope for Danhall. If he didn't make new allies, medicine sect wouldn't be able to deal with Lin Yi. Zheng Tianqing thought about it and agreed. He wouldn't lose anything if he met them. He might as well go and take a look. All right, second grandpa, I'll go and take a look. We'll talk about what happened just now later. Zheng Tianqing cupped his fist and walked to the front hall. Kong Ming was in a good mood after beating up Wei Jia. He was drinking tea in the medicine sect's hall and didn't show any impatience. He came to find Zheng Tianqing because he had a mission. To Kong Ming, the more missions he had, the better. That way, he could accumulate merits. Who knows, he might be able to surpass Zhong Pingliang one day. Zheng Tianqing walked into the hall and saw that Kong Ming seemed younger than him. He looked down on him and nodded at him indifferently as a greeting. Shopkeeper Kong, right? Why are you looking for me? Zheng Tianqing sat down proudly. As for the idea of finding an ally, he threw it to the back of his mind. Even if he wanted to find an ally, he had to have the upper hand in terms of momentum first. Only then would he be in an advantageous position in the alliance. You're Zheng Tianqing? You don't look like much. Kong Ming was unhappy with Zheng Tianqing's attitude. Who did this guy think he was? He dared to be so arrogant in front of him. Zheng Tianqing's face darkened and he snorted, "What do you mean? Are you here to make fun of me? Is being the shopkeeper of the Central Chamber of Commerce that great? All right, I won't talk nonsense with you. The higher-ups said that you are worth training, so they sent me here to guide you. But looking at you, It seems like you don't think much of my guidance. Kong Xiaoming chuckled and took a sip from his teacup. This feeling of being pretentious wasn't bad at all. Hire you, yes? Could it be that you are? Zheng Tianqing's face changed slightly and his eyes showed a hint of surprise. His contact with the organization was mostly through long-distance communication. Even if they met, he didn't really see their faces. If Kong Mingming was really sent by the organization, it would be Zheng Tianqing's first time seeing him in person. As long as you know. You performed very well on the far north island, so the organization asked me to focus on training you after you came back. Kong Mingming waved his hand, with a calm look on his face, but in his heart, he was secretly proud. I didn't know it was shopkeeper Kong. Please forgive me for not going out to welcome you. Zheng Tianqing seemed to have a spring installed on his buttocks. He jumped up in an instant, bowed, cupped his fists, and approached Kong Mingming with a big smile on his face to ask for forgiveness. Although it was just a few words, Zheng Tianqing was sure that Kong Mingming was definitely a member of that mysterious organization. No matter what his position was, he was much stronger than a newcomer like him, so he did not dare to slight him. Kong Mingming wasn't surprised at all. He put down the teacup in his hand and nodded. Then he waved his hand casually and said, "You don't have to be so polite. Let's sit down and talk. Shopkeeper Kong is a distinguished guest. Please take a seat." Zheng Tianqing bowed with a flattering smile and respectfully asked Kong Mingming to change his seat, trying to erase the bad impression he had when he first came in. No. After all, this is the place of your medicine sect. It's not good for me to be a noisy guest. Sit down quickly and talk about business. Kong Mingming was very satisfied with the change of Zheng Tianqing's attitude. He pretended to be very generous and continued to show off happily. Zheng Tianqing didn't dare to continue to disobey, but it was not good for him to sit back. So, he simply sat down in the chair next to Kong Mingming and asked respectfully, "Shopkeeper Kong, why did you come back to help me?" Here's the thing. We know the situation of the medicine sect in the Middle Island quite well. Originally, what happened to you had nothing to do with us. But now that we are all on the same side, we should help you more or less. Kong Mingming said with a big smile, as if he really came to give a lot of benefits to the medicine sect. Zheng Tianqing didn't know how to answer, so he could only nod and say some empty words like thanks. Kong Mingming didn't continue to talk nonsense. He opened the cloth bag beside him, revealing a delicate elixir furnace inside, and there was a tablet as a display screen on it. See? This is the artifact that can change the situation of your medicine sect. Kong Mingming smiled mysteriously. He bent his index finger and gently tapped on the elixir furnace twice, making a clear buzzing sound. "Shopkeeper Kong, what kind of artifact is this?" Zheng Tianqing hurriedly cooperated and asked, but he was a little disdainful in his heart. "Isn't it just an ordinary elixir furnace and a tablet of the Central Chamber of Commerce? Is it an innovative artifact? Hey, if I don't tell you, you won't be able to guess what kind of artifact it is. Come on, I'll show you directly and let you broaden your horizons." Kong Mingming had a sense of superiority in his heart. He directly took out the materials of a 5th-grade recover pill and was ready to refine it on the spot. Zheng Tianqing was also an alchemist, so he naturally knew the use of these materials. He didn't say anything at the moment, but just smiled and watched Kong Mingming operate. Before he figured out the strangeness of this elixir furnace, he really didn't know what to say. Kong Mingming moved very quickly. He opened the tablet on the elixir furnace and selected the formula of the 5th-grade recover pill from many elixir names. Then he used his genuine qi to transform the elixir fire and began to refine the elixir. The alchemy curve of the 5th-grade recover pill appeared on the screen of the tablet. Every time there was a change, there would be a prompt sound, and the temperature of the elixir fire would be automatically adjusted. There was no need for Kong Mingming to worry at all. All he needed to do was to steadily transfer the genuine qi. In the process of alchemy, Kong Mingming even had the leisure to chat with Zheng Tianqing. After more than 2 hours, the tablet made a clear sound, and the 5th-grade recover pill was completed. "See? This is the alchemy artifact I'm going to give you. All elixirs below the 5th-grade yellow level can be refined with this automatic alchemy artifact. The only thing you need is a practitioner who can convert genuine qi to elixir fire and continuously transfer genuine qi to maintain the elixir fire. Kong Ming Ming opened the elixir furnace, took out the 5th grade recover pill, and proudly presented it to Zheng Tianqing. Zheng Tianqing's heart was like a stormy sea, and his whole body was a little sluggish. This completely subverted his previous common sense of alchemy. In just a little more than 2 hours, he could easily refine a high-grade 5th grade recover pill. It was really hard for him to accept. Chapter 6091. Shopkeeper Kong, how many of these automatic alchemy artifacts do you have? Are there any other restrictions? Zheng Tianqing felt his throat was a little dry. He swallowed his saliva with difficulty and asked, "Don't worry, you can have as many as you want, as long as you can sell them. As for the restrictions, you have seen it. Any practitioner who can condense the elixir fire can use it. The only difference is the amount of true qi. If you want to refine a level 5 yellow level elixir, the amount of true qi you need to maintain is definitely not something a practitioner who has not even reached the foundation building realm can handle." Kong Ming Ming enjoyed Zheng Tianqing's respectful eyes very much. He was in a good mood and spoke more politely. "Great. With this automatic alchemy artifact, the business of Tiandan Pavilion will immediately collapse by more than half." Zheng Tianqing waved his fist excitedly. He was determined to deal with Lin Yi. Now with the help of this treasure, he could deal a fatal blow to Tiandan Pavilion. Although Tiandan Pavilion sold a lot of high-level elixirs, the real big fish was always the low-level elixirs. With this automatic alchemy artifact that could refine all level 5 elixirs, who would go to Tiandan Pavilion to buy elixirs below level 5? In fact, just refining a 5th grade elixir was definitely not worthy of the title of a divine artifact. Adding the prefix of automatically refining elixirs was also not enough. However, with such a rare treasure, even if it was slightly exaggerated and crowned with the title of a divine artifact, probably no one would take it seriously. Kong Ming Ming laughed and was very happy with Zheng Tianqing's statement. In fact, this kind of good thing could also be sold by the Central Chamber of Commerce, but the agreement between the Central and Lin Yi was still valid. Such a blatant suppression of Tiandan Pavilion was equivalent to directly tearing up the agreement. But selling it to the medicine sect was different. It could not only achieve the purpose of targeting Lin Yi, but also support and cultivate Zheng Tianqing. It could be said to be a good thing to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. In particular, Zheng Tianqing clearly stated that he would target Tiandan Pavilion, which made Kong Ming Ming even more satisfied. "Shopkeeper Kong, would you like me to inform my 2 grandfathers about this? If it's convenient for you, why don't you ask them to come and pay their respects?" Zheng Tianqing was very willing, but after all, he was not in charge of the medicine sect, so he still had to go through the necessary formalities. Kong Ming Ming had spent more than 2 hours demonstrating alchemy. Zheng Dongxing and Zheng Dongjue were probably a little anxious from waiting. If Kong Ming Ming had no objections, it would be better for them to meet and discuss the details. "No problem. Get someone to invite them over." Kong Ming Ming was very satisfied with the word "greet," so he waved his hand generously and decided to give them a chance to greet him. Zheng Tianqing did not dare to be negligent. He quickly excused himself and hurriedly ran out to find someone to invite Zheng Dongxing and the others. He also arranged for someone to prepare food and send it up. It was already late, so eating and chatting would make the atmosphere more pleasant. Zheng Dongxing and Zheng Dongjue were indeed a little impatient, but it was not appropriate for them to directly go to see, lest they offended the Central Chamber of Commerce. Hearing that Kong Ming Ming invited them, they hurried over. Just as the food began to be gradually delivered, the 4 chatted while eating and carefully deliberated the details of this cooperation. In fact, there was nothing to discuss. The Central Chamber of Commerce was willing to provide this kind of good thing to the medicine sect for sale. Before knowing the agreement between the Central Chamber of Commerce and Lin Yi, the several people of the Zheng family were all grateful, feeling that they had been hit by a pie from the sky. They did not raise many objections at all. Almost everything that Kong Ming Ming said, they nodded and agreed. If it were not for the intention of supporting Zheng Tianqing, Kong Ming Ming might have squeezed the Zheng family. Although he did not squeeze them, he still put most of the profits under the name of the Central Chamber of Commerce. At dawn the next day, the medicine sect, which had obtained enough automatic alchemy furnaces from the Central Chamber of Commerce, began to prepare for sales. Their approach was also very simple. They arranged more than a dozen alchemy apprentices, each with an automatic alchemy furnace and a few bodyguards. Under the banner of the medicine sect, they began to demonstrate the magic of the automatic alchemy furnace at various busy intersections in Zhongdao. Sometimes sales were so simple. No matter how you talked, it was absolutely not as effective as seeing it with your own eyes. In just one morning, the name of the automatic alchemy artifact had ignited the public opinion in Zhongdao. No matter where you were, you could hear the keywords medicine sect, automatic alchemy artifact, and so on were constantly mentioned. As for the headquarters of the medicine sect, it was crowded with people who wanted to buy the automatic alchemy furnace. Who knew how many such good things there were? If they were a step late and failed to grab it, wouldn't they suffer a big loss? Zheng Dongxing and Zheng Dongjue stood on the second floor of the medicine sect, watching the crowd below, and all of them were smiling. The Tiandan pavilion opposite the door was impacted by the automatic alchemy furnace. Today, it finally became deserted again. Although the street was full of people, no one went to the Tiandan pavilion to buy elixirs. Tianqing, this child, has really grown up. Our Zheng family will depend on him in the future. He was able to establish a relationship with the Central Chamber of Commerce and suppress the Tiandan pavilion like this in one day. Before today, we didn't even dare to think about it. Zheng Dongjue said with a laugh, and he was generous with his praise for Zheng Tianqing's performance. Don't praise him too much. This kid can't stand it. He will become arrogant in the future. Moreover, the Tiandan pavilion may not always be suppressed. After all, today everyone is just looking for something new. In the future, when they need elixirs above the 5th grade, they will still go to the Tiandan pavilion to buy. Zheng Dongxing seemed modest, but in fact he was very proud. Zheng Tianqing was his grandson. If he was not proud, who would be? As for the sales of elixirs above the 5th grade in the Tiandan pavilion, Zheng Dongxing was not worried at all. With the huge popularity brought by the automatic alchemy furnace, people who wanted to buy elixirs above the 5th grade would first think of the medicine sect. There was no doubt about this. As long as the medicine sect could come up with elixirs of the same quality as the Tiandan pavilion, they could take away most of the customers of the Tiandan pavilion. Unfortunately, Zheng Dongxing himself knew that if he wanted to compete with Lin Yi in alchemy, he basically had no chance of winning. Don't worry about the future. Being able to see them embarrassed for a day is enough for me to be happy for a long time. Zheng Dongjue smiled and waved his hand, and then listened for a while. Many people below were talking about Zheng Tianqing and the automatic alchemy furnace. Chapter 6092. In fact, this kind of cover-up was of no use to Lin Yi. How could Zheng Tianqing make an automatic alchemy furnace? But as long as they weren't caught in the open, they weren't afraid of Lin Yi saying anything. Cousin, did you hear that? Everyone is talking about how Tianqing is the most outstanding disciple of our Zheng family. He's even one of the best geniuses of Middle Island. There's almost no one in the younger generation who can compare to him. I also think he's the savior of our Zheng family. In my opinion, it's too wasteful to let Tianqing stay in Middle Island. We really need to find a way to send him back to East Continent. That's where he can use his talent. No one knew what Zheng Dongjue was thinking, but he suddenly mentioned East Continent. Originally, he was very reluctant to let Zheng Dongxing and Zheng Tianqing go back to East Continent immediately, leaving him to face Lin Yi's Tiandan pavilion alone. But now he obviously changed his mind. Oh, Dongjue, do you have any ideas? Why don't you tell me? Zheng Dongxing smiled slightly. With the great situation created by the automatic alchemy furnace, he wasn't in a hurry to return to East Continent. If he could make a name for himself in Middle Island, he would be more confident when he returned to East Continent. Of course, his future development would be easier. Here's what I'm thinking. After a few days, when Medicine Sect's situation stabilizes, we'll let Tianqing take Hennerdan to East Continent with Okuda Dam's fleet. With Tianqing's intelligence and Hennerdan as a stepping stone, he'll definitely get Zhuang Yifan's favor. It'll be easy for us to get a foothold. At that time, you can go back to help us, and our Zheng family will be able to rise again in East Continent. Zheng Dongjue whispered his plan. In fact, it was the same old plan, nothing new. But their original plan was for Zheng Dongxing and Zheng Tianqing to go find Zhuang Yifan together, with Zheng Dongxing as the leader. Now, Zheng Tianqing went alone. Maybe the effect would be better than the two of them going together. Zheng Dongxing nodded slightly, seeming to be a little moved by this proposal. Seeing the prosperity of the medicine sect, he really didn't want to let go. So it was indeed a good proposal to let Zheng Tianqing go to the East Continent alone, and he would stay for a while to manage the medicine sect. This matter is not urgent. Anyway, the Okuda Dam fleet still has some time to go to the Eastern Continent. The heavenly crystal does not need to immediately board the ship. The most important thing is to stabilize the current advantageous situation. Zheng Dongxing had already agreed with Zheng Dongjue's opinion, but there was no need to make a decision immediately. There was still plenty of time. At this moment, the people of the Zheng clan were complacent, but in the Tiandan pavilion opposite, Lin Yi was a little surprised. His divine sense could see the disciples of the famous medicine sect who were demonstrating on the street, so he had a sufficient understanding of the automatic alchemy furnace's performance. It's actually an automatic alchemy furnace. How did the Zheng family get such a thing? Moreover, it's a furnace that can refine all the elixirs below yellow level 5. It's much stronger than the ones in the secular world. It seems that the people in the center are playing tricks. Lin Yi retracted his divine sense. At a glance, he saw the shadow of the center behind the incident. He didn't care about the crowd in the medicine sect. The automatic alchemy furnace sold by the medicine sect has a great impact on our Tiandan pavilion's business. Today, we didn't even complete one order. Tian Chan said with a smile. She wasn't complaining. Anyway, Tiandan Pavilion didn't really rely on selling elixirs to make a living. A short period of depression was not a problem. Oh, yellow level 5 and below elixirs. It's no big deal. The group of rats in the center don't dare to deal with me openly. They can only play this kind of trick. They think that they can attack Tiandan Pavilion through the medicine sect. They really underestimate us. Don't they understand that any profound level 1 or 2 elixirs is enough for Tiandan Pavilion to eat for a year or two? Lin Yi smiled faintly. A truly high-end elixir could really sustain Tiandan Pavilion for a year or two, or even 10 or 20 years. Therefore, the automatic alchemy furnace of yellow level 5 was really not a threat. You're right. We can take the opportunity to end those low-end elixir business. In the future, we'll focus on the high-quality route. You have to work hard to refine elixirs. Don't be lazy. Tian Chan gave Lin Yi a big smile, but no matter how you looked at it, it looked like the expression of a landlady looking at a long-term worker. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Shouldn't you work hard and quickly be promoted to a profound level alchemist? With you here, why should I work so hard? If you dare to be lazy, I'll kick you. Tian Chan giggled, revealing her white canine teeth. Xue Li covered her mouth and snickered. She had a gentle personality and rarely interfered. Most of the time, she listened on the side. Since Lin Yi and Tian Chan didn't care much about the automatic alchemy furnace, she didn't need to worry about it. Lin Yi chatted with the two girls for a while, then turned to look at Han Jingjing. He couldn't help but sigh. It's a pity that Jingjing didn't come back. If she was here, the 5th level automatic alchemy furnace wouldn't be worth mentioning at all. She could make even more advanced ones and suppress the medicine sect in an instant. Unlike now, we can only watch helplessly. It's really because we don't know anything about the technology to make this thing. Didn't I just say that it's not a big deal? Why would Jingjing need to do anything? You don't know how to care for Jingjing at all. When she comes back, see if I don't complain about you. Tian Chan's expression was slightly stagnant, then she changed the topic in a joking manner. Lin Yi knew that she didn't want him to continue to be sad about Han Jingjing, so he smiled slightly and shrugged, pretending to be relaxed. Jingjing is very gentle. It's useless even if you complain. Do you mean that I'm very fierce? Believe it or not, I'll kick you. Tian Chan snorted and finally succeeded in changing the topic. Han Jingjing, who Lin Yi and the others were talking about, was still moving in the wormhole at this time. Because she was wandering around consciously before, after turning back into a particle cluster, Her speed became quite slow. However, this slow was relative to other particle clusters. In fact, this speed was already very fast in the outside world. However, the wormhole space was different from the outside world. The distance and time inside were very vague. Han Jingjing didn't know how long she had been moving, nor did she know how far she had moved. In any case, the exit that she had been looking forward to did not appear soon. Until today, dozens of white light spots of various sizes finally appeared in front of the wormhole space. To be exact, there was a relatively large light spot and dozens of small light spots. Chapter 6093. If there was no accident, these white light spots should be the exit of the wormhole, but Han Jingjing did not expect there to be so many wormhole exits. The largest light spot was undoubtedly the wormhole position controlled by the center. As for the small ones, Han Jingjing guessed that they were small cracks scattered in the secular world. Usually, they would not have any impact on the outside world. They would only play a role under certain circumstances. For example, when Han Jingjing returned to the Heaven Stage Island from the villa, because she thought of the wormhole, she directly entered the wormhole space. This was undoubtedly her own will that played a major role, but it was undeniable that these small cracks scattered in various places in the secular world were also very important. Otherwise, no matter how much Han Jingjing thought of the wormhole, it would be impossible to enter it. After all, returning to the Heaven Stage Island was because of the connection between the spirit and the body, but Han Jingjing had no connection with the wormhole. It could only be said that there was such a small crack near the villa. I don't know if this is the secular world or the heavenly island. If it's the secular world, I can look for the gap near the villa. Han Jingjing was still in the form of a ball of particles, but it didn't stop her from thinking. After a while, Han Jingjing's particle cluster had already arrived in front of the light spots in the void. The largest one was now a stable circle with a diameter of about 2 meters. There were groups of particles constantly entering and exiting, proving that her previous guess was not wrong. This was the central control place. Other light spots, the big ones were like watermelons, and the small ones were slightly bigger than goose eggs. From the shape, none of them were regular, and they could not be compared with the largest exit at all. What's more, it was simply a crooked thin line that was between closing and opening at any time. The risk of entering and exiting from this crack was quite high. Han Jingjing's particle cluster stopped not far from this light spot. She did not rush to leave, but continued to observe the space behind the light spot. She originally thought that this should be the end, but now she found that it was not the case. After the light spot, there was still a boundless space extending out. It seemed that this wormhole could lead to other places. Through these white light spots, Han Jingjing's divine awareness had been able to determine that it was not the Heaven Stage Island outside, but the secular world. Then the question was, where did the wormhole lead to after crossing the secular world? Could it be the primordial underworld that Big Brother Lin mentioned? Han Jingjing was a little hesitant. She did not know if she should continue exploring. Perhaps she could find the location of the wormhole that even the center could not grasp. However, she did not know how long she had been delayed here. Big Brother Lin must be very worried about her, right? After thinking about it again and again, Han Jingjing decided to go over and take a look at the situation before returning to the secular world. If it was only for a while, it shouldn't be a big deal, right? With that in mind, the particle cluster began to circle around this white spot of light and floated to the other side of the space. However, after moving forward for a short distance, an extremely dangerous feeling suddenly appeared. Han Jingjing did not hesitate at all and immediately controlled the particle cluster to retreat. Countless invisible spatial blades suddenly appeared in front of Han Jingjing. These spatial blades could annihilate all matter, including all the particles in the wormhole. If Han Jingjing had not seen the opportunity early and retreated in time, she was likely to have completely fallen under the attack of these spatial blades. Even so, there was still a small part of the particle cluster that could not escape and was twisted into nothingness by the spatial blades. Han Jingjing immediately felt a terrible pain that penetrated deep into her soul. Her consciousness almost collapsed. One had to know that these balls of particles were formed from her primordial spirit. Losing a small part of her primordial spirit was as painful as being attacked by Lin Yi's primordial spirit. Fortunately, she did not enter too far and immediately returned to the light spot area. Here, the feeling of danger completely disappeared. It seemed that the wormhole on the other side was not suitable for teleportation. No wonder there was no information left in the center's research data. However, it was impossible for the center's researchers to directly wander in the wormhole space like Han Jingjing, so they might not know about the dangerous wormhole here. There is no other way. I can only leave first and come back to study that unstable and dangerous wormhole later. I hope it will be valuable in the end. Han Jingjing sighed softly in her consciousness. Although the loss of the spirit was painful, she was still in the form of a particle cluster. The connection was far less close than when she was in the spirit form. So, after a while, she recovered. As for how serious the damage this time was, she could only wait until she returned to the spirit form to know. Hopefully, it would not affect her return to Heaven Stage Island. After carefully exploring those exits, the Han Jingjing controlled by the center would definitely not use them. Regardless of whether there was an existence that could threaten her outside, just the information that her spirit could appear in the wormhole was something that she absolutely could not let the people in the center know. So, after comparing, Han Jingjing chose a seemingly more stable exit. Although it was not the largest of the remaining exits, it was almost the size of a grapefruit. Under the observation of her divine sense, there should be no one outside and it would not cause chaos. The most important thing was that a stable exit had a higher safety factor. After experiencing the danger just now, Han Jingjing had become much more cautious. As for the cracks near the villa, Han Jingjing did not discover them. Perhaps she just happened to encounter an unstable crack at that time. This kind of thing was not impossible. She did not know whether she was lucky or unlucky. The particle cluster smoothly passed through the exit and reformed Han Jingjing's spirit. Only now did she realize how serious the consequences of that dangerous attempt were. The pain at the soul level still existed. Not to mention that Han Jingjing found that the connection between her and her main body on Heaven Stage Island had become extremely weak, even somewhat faintly discernible. If the trace of connection between her and her main body was broken, she could only teleport through the wormhole if she wanted to return to Heaven Stage Island. Moreover, it could not be delayed for too long. Otherwise, her spirit and her main body would suffer irreversible damage. That was close. I thought it was just a small injury. I didn't expect it to be so serious. However, with such a weak connection now, it seems very difficult to directly return to Heaven Stage Island. Han Jingjing was secretly afraid. While strengthening the connection with her main body, she observed the surrounding environment. Chapter 6094. But now, Han Jingjing felt that the indistinct connection had completely bypassed her armor. It was similar to a normal projection of her primordial spirit. Although she did not know what was going on, the weak fetters that tugged at her primordial spirit made her feel at ease. At this time, Han Jingjing naturally did not know that this weak connection was the effect of the spirit-gathering branch that Lin Yi had painstakingly obtained. When her spirit was in the wormhole space, the spirit-gathering branch was indeed useless. After coming out, it immediately preserved the connection between Han Jingjing's main body and spirit, so that she had enough time to find a way to return to Heaven Island. Hey, the crack exit just now has disappeared? Han Jingjing could no longer see the slightest trace of the wormhole exit in her divine sense. She immediately turned around and muttered to herself in surprise. This kind of small exit was indeed not stable enough. Perhaps the location it appeared in every time was not fixed. Han Jingjing originally wanted to re-enter the wormhole from this exit to return to Heaven Island, but now it seemed that there was no hope. I understand, in the wormhole exit, the only stable one should be the one controlled by the center. The rest of the cracks all appear randomly in various places in the secular world, and the time and location will all change. It seems that it will be a little difficult to control the use of the wormhole through these cracks. Han Jingjing floated in the air with a look of realization. She did not care about the disappearance of the exit at all. Although her spirit was a little seriously injured and the weak connection between her and her main body was not enough for her to return to Heaven Island, Han Jingjing still devoted herself to the study of the wormhole. After a short while, Han Jingjing woke up from her analysis mode. She looked around in a daze and said, "What is this place? How do I go back?" When in the wormhole, Han Jingjing thought that she could directly return to Heaven Island as soon as she came out, so there was no need to observe the surrounding environment. It did not matter where she appeared anyway. Who would have thought that the accident just now would cause a problem in her connection with her main body? Now that the wormhole crack had disappeared, if she wanted to return to Heaven Island, she had to find a new wormhole crack, so where she was became important. In addition to entering the wormhole and leaving from the other end, there was another way, which was to find a way to repair her spirit and see if she could re-establish the connection between her and her main body. To do this, Han Jingjing felt that it would be easier to find a wormhole. This is a forest. As for the direction, that's not important. Let's first figure out what kind of forest this is. Han Jingjing muttered to herself. Her primordial spirit slowly flew up into the sky. Observing from above the forest would give her a clearer view. Unfortunately, although they could see it clearly, their location was still unclear. It would be great if they could bring along some positioning or communication devices. Han Jingjing had no choice but to pick a random direction and fly slowly. At the same time, she tried to enter the wormhole again using the method she used before. As it turned out, no matter how she thought about it, there was no way to enter the wormhole again. The last time was indeed a coincidence. A moving wormhole crack had appeared near the villa, but this time, she was out of luck. Hey, wait a minute. Is this my divine sense imprint? Han Jingjing suddenly stopped and turned to look in another direction. She felt a weak connection with her primordial spirit there. When she came to the secular world, Han Jingjing did use the method of divine sense imprint. However, with the strength of her divine sense, the distance she could sense was not too far. For example, after she met up with Lin Yi, she did not sense the two divine sense imprints again. Now that there was a sudden fluctuation, it meant that the two spirit hunters had entered Han Jingjing's sensing range. Did this mean that when she left the wormhole, she came to Europe again? Now that she had finally found a clue, Han Jingjing did not delay and immediately flew toward the location of the divine sense imprint. As long as she could find the two spirit hunters, she could at least determine their current location. Then, she could contact Kong Xiaobo and the rest and inform Heaven Island that she was safe. As she got closer, Han Jingjing's primordial spirit could sense the divine sense imprint more clearly. Moreover, the forest began to become sparser, and she was almost at the edge. Soon, Han Jingjing found the two spirit hunters, Black Robe and Hunting Bao. They were fighting with two evil spirits at the moment, and from the looks of it, they were at a complete disadvantage. Hunting Bao's arrows were quite threatening, but the evil spirits were extremely fast and could easily dodge most of the arrows. Black Robe's leg injury seemed to have not healed yet, and his advance and retreat were somewhat affected, which was why he was suppressed by the evil spirits. The spirit hunter's recovery ability is really bad. Since they are so weak, why didn't they heal before coming out? Han Jingjing shook her head and instantly rushed over. In any case, they were acquaintances, and Han Jingjing was still hoping to get some information from them. Of course, she could not just watch the two of them get injured, so she acted very quickly. Although Han Jingjing's primordial spirit had suffered a certain amount of damage, dealing with two European evil spirits was really not a big deal. Before Black Robe and Hunting Bao could react, Han Jingjing had already defeated the two evil spirits in one fell swoop. The elixir fire of consciousness was used to deal with these things, and it was not inferior to lightning. Although Han Jingjing had only mastered a little bit of the elixir fire of consciousness, the two evil spirits did not have the slightest bit of resistance. After two shrieks, they were burned into nothingness. Aya! Don't waste your soul power. The soul power of these two evil spirits is very precious. Black Robe shouted. He did not have the time to thank Han Jingjing, and quickly took out a soul-gathering bottle and began to collect the soul power of the evil spirits that were scattered in the air. Han Jingjing's eyes lit up. She did not expect this fellow to have a soul-gathering bottle. She thought that after snatching their bottles previously, they would not have anything to eat, but it seemed like she had worried too much. The pure soul power in the soul-gathering bottle might be of some help to repair her primordial spirit. If she could collect enough soul power, she might be able to reconstruct the connection between her and her body. Hunting Bao greets my lord, thank you for your help. Hunting Bao had already recognized Han Jingjing. After putting away his bow and arrows, he quickly ran over and bowed respectfully to her. Only then did Black Robe remember that in front of him was an existence that he could not afford to offend, and quickly thanked her, but the soul-gathering bottle did not stop working. This is my spare soul-gathering bottle, you won't take it away again, right? Black Robe suddenly regretted taking out the soul-gathering bottle. The soul power of the evil spirits was precious, but if Han Jingjing took the soul-gathering bottle, he would probably vomit blood. Chapter 6095. Han Jingjing waved her hand and said, the soul-collecting bottle is fine, but I need soul power. Do you have any channels to buy soul power? The money in the secular world was meaningless to Han Jingjing. Whether it was the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group or the Lu family, they could provide a large sum of money. It would be best if she could buy soul power to restore her spirit. Black Shirt and Hunting Bao looked at each other. They didn't expect Han Jingjing to ask such a question. But it wasn't strange. After all, Han Jingjing was just a spirit body in their eyes. It was just that she was very powerful. It was normal for her to need soul power. Unfortunately, it wasn't easy to buy soul power. My lady, we spirit hunters are mainly responsible for collecting soul power in exchange for rewards. However, if we want to purchase it, it's not that easy. Although we can contact others in the same line of work, we don't have many people in this line of work. Hunting Bao carefully explained. She didn't want Han Jingjing to have any misunderstandings. From the previous situation, she could tell that this powerful soul was relatively kind-hearted. If they could maintain a good relationship, it would be beneficial for them. Black Shirt kept the soul-collecting bottle. He had collected the soul power of the two evil spirits. The soul-collecting bottle was about half full. It was a good harvest. If you need soul power, you can take these as a thank you gift for saving us. A noble spirit hunter will not be ungrateful. Hei Yi handed the soul collection bottle to Han Jingjing. Although it was a little painful, as he said, he was still very willing to repay Han Jingjing's kindness. Thank you. I won't stand on ceremony. Han Jingjing accepted the soul-gathering bottle and opened it. She raised her head and drank all the soul power inside. A warm feeling instantly flowed through her primordial spirit. The pain that had yet to dissipate was immediately reduced by half. Her injuries also began to improve. Although he still couldn't re-establish contact with his main body, the indistinct feeling became slightly clearer. It seemed that this soul power was indeed effective. As long as he collected more, he might be able to recover his primordial spirit and return to Heavenstep Island in no time. Since you don't have a channel to buy soul power, do you know where I can quickly collect soul power? Han Jingjing returned the soul-collecting bottle to Black Shirt and asked longingly. It was a pity that Lin Yi had kept the soul power-gathering device that he had made in the villa. Otherwise, it would have been easier for him to gather soul power. Hunting Bao's beautiful eyes lit up and a sweet smile appeared on her face. If Han Jingjing was not a girl, she might have been attracted to her. If you want to quickly gather soul power, there is a place nearby called Evil Spirit Town. There are at least dozens of evil spirits gathered there. If you kill all of them, you can fill 10 soul-gathering bottles. I just don't know how strong you are. Can you deal with so many evil spirits? Hunting Bao's plan was to let Han Jingjing deal with the evil spirits. It had to be known that she and Black Shirt did not dare to go near Evil Spirit Town because there were too many of them and they could not deal with them. However, Han Jingjing was different. She was a powerful soul body, and she had a magical flame that specialized in restraining evil spirits. She might even be able to flatten Evil Spirit Town. It was a pity that Hunting Bao and Black Shirt only had 2 soul-gathering bottles. Even if they killed all the evil spirits in Evil Spirit Town, they would not be able to take away too much soul power. It was just right for Han Jingjing to absorb. Other than the soul power, Evil Spirit Town had been occupied by evil spirits for a long time. Therefore, there was a high chance that there would be some equipment that could be used by spirit hunters. Hunting Bao thought that it would not matter even if he gave all the soul power to Han Jingjing. Evil Spirit Town? That sounds scary. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Han Jingjing smiled faintly. In order to return to Big Brother Lin Yi's side as soon as possible, a few evil spirits were nothing. We're going to Evil Spirit Town? Ha! I've been wanting to go there for a long time. Black Shirt looked excited. Do you have a phone? Let me use it. Han Jingjing did not forget to contact Kong Xiaobo and the rest. Although she did not know how long she had been in the wormhole, Big Brother Lin Yi must be very worried. It was more important to let him know that she was safe. Hunting Bao took out a satellite phone and passed it to Han Jingjing. As an excellent spirit hunter, he would always prepare this kind of equipment. Han Jingjing dialed the villa's number, and it was picked up after 2 rings. It should be Wu Chentian. Sis-in-law Jingjing? Where have you been? Boss is worried sick on Sky Class Island. We've been looking for you everywhere, but we can't find you. Tell me where you are. I'll come get you right away. Chentian was excited when he heard Han Jingjing's voice. He finally found her. Wu Chentian? Don't look for me, I have some things to do. I'll go straight to Sky Class Island after I'm done. Send a letter to Lin Yi bro, tell him I'm fine, that I'll be back in a couple of days. Don't worry about me. Han Jingjing didn't say much else, leaving only a few simple instructions before hanging up. Knowing that Han Jingjing was fine, Chentian breathed a sigh of relief. He did not pursue the matter and instead went to notify the others, writing a letter to Lin. After the center signed the agreement, the wormhole was opened to Lin Yi's people. Although the letters weren't as effective as before, it was much better than not being able to contact each other. After Han Jingjing hung up, she followed Black Clothes and Hunting Bao to Evil Spirit Town. Based on her estimation, she would be able to recover from her injuries with another 3 to 4 bottles of soul power. As for whether she could re-establish her connection with her main body, she could not be sure yet. She could only say that there was a high chance of that happening. It was a pity that Han Jingjing realized that soul power could be used to heal the soul, but using it to strengthen the soul would cause problems. It was like the side effect of Lin Yi's soul devouring. Getting stronger would cause the soul to become chaotic, and it was a waste of time. If not for the soul collection bottle's ability to filter and purify soul power, Han Jingjing would not even have the thought of using soul power to heal herself. The soul power that dissipated in the air was no different from poison to an ordinary primordial spirit. Only those evil cultivators would directly consume this kind of soul power. From this aspect, the soul-gathering bottle was a magical item. At least, Han Jingjing had never heard of it before. Although the soul-gathering bottle was a good item, Han Jingjing did not want to take it again because she had taken Hei Yi and Hunting Bao's bottles before. On Sky Class Island, Lin Yi had not received a message from Chentian about Han Jingjing, so he was still worried. Chapter 6096. However, the Central Chamber of Commerce was not smooth sailing. After Wei Jiating was thrown out of the Central Chamber of Commerce by Kang Mingming, he successfully provoked the relationship between the Hong's Chamber of Commerce and the Central Chamber of Commerce, and the two directly entered into a full-scale business war. Under such circumstances, no one cared about Hong Zhong's matter at all, and finally, it was left unsettled. Brother Lin, today I'm here to say goodbye to you. I can't intervene in the affairs of Zhongdao, so I'd better go back to the North Island to stabilize the situation as soon as possible, lest the Central Chamber of Commerce of North Island shake my foundation. Hong Zhong had to go back to the North Island immediately, so he specially came to Tiandan Pavilion to see Lin. Brother Hong, it's better for you to go back to the North Island first. You don't have to worry about the clowns in Zhongdao, and the things here really have little to do with you. Try not to get involved if you can. After a while, I'll go back to the North Island, and then we'll have a good talk. Lin Yi smiled slightly. He had expected that Wei Jiating couldn't shake Hong Zhong's position, and now it was true. He just didn't expect that the Hong's Chamber of Commerce and the Central Chamber of Commerce would have such a big fight. With one more enemy in the Central Chamber of Commerce, Lin Yi had one more ally, not to mention that the Hong's Chamber of Commerce had a close relationship with him. But this time, the conflict between the Hong's Chamber of Commerce and the Central Chamber of Commerce was provoked by Wei Jiating, and no one from the Hong's Chamber of Commerce came to inform Lin Yi, the honorary vice president. So for the time being, he was not interested in intervening in it. He would let them fight each other for a while. Hong Zhong was different. As a member of the Hong family, whether he could intervene in the affairs of Zhongdao or not, he would worry about the Hong's Chamber of Commerce. But now, the only thing he could do was to stabilize the situation of the Hong's branch and the Central Chamber of Commerce after returning to the North Island. Lin Yi couldn't go back with Hong Zhong for the time being, but the Hong's Chamber of Commerce in the North Island was different from that in Zhongdao. He wouldn't watch Hong Zhong get into trouble. Brother Hong, after you go back to the North Island, if you need help, you can ask my friends for help. Maybe they can't help you, but they can help you with some small things. Lin Yi's connections in the North Island were much deeper than those in Zhongdao, and his reputation was also useful. If Hong Zhong was in trouble, he could really borrow a lot of help. Well, if I need it, I won't stand on ceremony with you. Your name is much more useful than the Hong's Chamber of Commerce. Hong Zhong laughed heartily, and his worries dissipated a lot. In the North Island, it was not easy for the Central Chamber of Commerce to suppress the Hong's Chamber of Commerce. With Lin Yi's face, Hong Zhong had long been in an invincible position. In fact, if Lin Yi was willing to intervene in the affairs of Middle Island, the Hong's Chamber of Commerce would also have an absolute advantage. Unfortunately, Wei Jiading and his men would never come to Lin Yi, and Hong Zhong could not ask Lin Yi for help himself. After chatting for a while, they agreed to meet again in the North Island, and then Hong Zhong left. This time, he didn't take the ancient battleship of Okuda Dam. Instead, he directly rode the flying spirit beast back to the North Island. After sending Hong Zhong away, Lin Yi accidentally scanned around with his divine senses. It was just an unintentional action, but he accidentally found that Wei Shunjin and Shang Yuhua were surrounded by a group of people on the beach. There were 8 people in the group, most of whom were cultivators of the nascent soul stage, 2 of whom were masters of the mysterious ascension stage, and 1 of whom was at the early stage of the mountain opening stage. This kind of strength was absolutely powerful in Zhongdao, but Lin Yi didn't know any of them. How dare they surround people of the Universal Chamber of Commerce and the Snow Sword School in Zhongdao? Are these guys from the ancient families? Lin Yi's face turned cold. Wei Shunjin was his younger brother. Even if they were from the ancient families, they couldn't easily touch his people. Tianchan, Sydney, I'm going out for a while. Lin Yi turned his head and said casually to the 2 women in the door. His figure flashed, and he had already left the Tiandan pavilion. Wei Shunjin and Shang Yuhua were not in any life-threatening danger. Although the group of people surrounded them, Shang Yuhua was unharmed, and Wei Shunjin was only slightly injured. Lin Yi didn't know whether they didn't mean to kill Wei Shunjin, or whether they were playing tricks on him. Anyway, he directly used the thunder escape skill. In the flash of lightning, he appeared on the beach in just a breath. Boss. When Wei Shunjin saw the lightning, he knew that it was Lin Yi, but his face showed a look of shame or anger. What's going on? Lin Yi appeared beside Wei Shunjin, glanced at the 8 people coldly and asked faintly. Boss Lin Yi? Shang Yuhua was obviously relieved and quickly came up to greet him, and at the same time explained, I'm sorry, this is all because of me. These people are from the East Continent's Yellow Sea region, Hongwu Academy. That is their leader, the son of the deputy principal of Hongwu Academy, Zhu Dadi. Lin Yi looked at the direction where Shang Yuhua pointed. The guy called Zhu Dadi was quite good-looking, dressed in brocade clothes, and looked very imposing. At this moment, he was looking at them with a face full of arrogance. The only old man in the early stage of mountain opening was standing beside this kid, staring at Lin Yi with a dignified expression. Among these people, the only one who could see how scary Lin Yi was probably the old man in the early stage of mountain opening. The rest of the people, including the 2 mysterious ascending stage cultivators, had their backs to the direction where Lin Yi came from, so they didn't notice how he appeared at all. Boss, that guy called Zhu Dadi wanted to force the Universal Chamber of Commerce to marry Yuhua to him, because Yuhua didn't agree, so she directly followed us here. Wei Shunjin was ashamed because he felt that he couldn't protect his beloved, but after Lin Yi appeared, he couldn't suppress his anger anymore. Any man with courage wouldn't tolerate someone trying to snatch his woman. Even if he knew that he couldn't win, he would never retreat. Because of this, Wei Shenjin didn't ask for help from Lin Yi immediately. He had to step forward bravely. Lin Yi took out a recover pill and gave it to Wei Shenjin. Although his injury wasn't serious, it wouldn't be wrong to treat it. Wei Shenjin didn't refuse, and took the pill and swallowed it. Hongwu College? I've never heard of it. Why do all kinds of trash dare to come to the Central Island to show off? Do you really think that you're better than others just because you're from the East Continent? Lin Yi turned to look at Zhu Dadi and sneered indifferently. Zhu Dadi didn't get angry. Instead, he smiled and nodded calmly. Country bumpkin, it's normal that you don't know the colleges in the East Continent. Did you hear that trash call you boss? Listen to this young master's advice. You country bumpkins have no qualifications to fight with this young master for a woman. Take advantage of this young master's good mood and get lost. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that you'll be able to return alive. Chapter 6097. You really don't know what's good for you. I'm kind enough to give you a chance to live, but you don't know how to cherish it. You guys, go and teach this kid a lesson. Zhu Dadi waved his hand and signaled the two profound ascending stage cultivators to lead the rest of the nascent soul stage cultivators. In Zhu Dadi's view, such a lineup was very important to Lin Yi, but he didn't notice that the old man beside him had a slight change in expression. He opened his mouth and wanted to say something but stopped. Oh, so many people, do you want to scare me to death? Lin Yi had a faint sneer on the corner of his mouth. He tapped his feet and used the butterfly subtle steps. To deal with these small people, he didn't need to use any offensive martial arts at all. Simple straight punches, hooks, and so on, combined with the butterfly subtle steps, were enough to suppress the 6 people. In just a breath's time, the 6 cultivators, including the 2 profound ascending stage cultivators, were all knocked to the ground without exception. Fortunately, Wei Shenjin didn't suffer any serious injuries. Otherwise, these 6 guys wouldn't just be knocked unconscious on the ground. If Lin Yi really wanted to kill them, he would definitely not be lenient. Zhu Dadi was suddenly stunned. It was just a blink of an eye. How did these 6 masters all fall to the ground? What about ganging up on the country bumpkins? The old man beside him instantly moved in front of him. After blocking Lin Yi, he solemnly cupped his fists and said, "Little friend, there is some misunderstanding in this matter. Please stop fighting." Lin Yi clapped his hands. He didn't want to continue fighting, but since the old man was quite sensible, he might as well listen to what he had to say first. After all, the ins and outs of this matter were not completely clear. It was necessary to stand up for Wei Shenjin, but it would be better if he could also be reasonable. Say what you want to say, my time is limited. Lin Yi calmly looked at the old man. As for Zhu Dadi, he didn't need to pay attention to him for the time being. Actually, this time we are here on behalf of Hongwu University to establish a cooperation agreement with the Universal Chamber of Commerce of Middle Island. Young Master Zhu really fell in love with Miss Shang at first sight, so he casually mentioned it. I didn't expect that the people of Universal Chamber of Commerce would immediately propose a marriage between Miss Shang and our young master. They were the ones who suggested it first, and we just agreed to it. The early mountain opening stage elder first removed himself from this matter. The strength that Lin Yi had shown had already made him deeply afraid. As the saying goes, a powerful dragon cannot suppress a snake in its territory. Moreover, Lin Yi was Lin Yi the local dragon. Lin Yi to say, to Lin Yi Lin. Nonsense. It was obviously you who colluded with the president first to force my father to agree to the marriage. I have already clearly told you that I already have a fiancé, and I will definitely not marry Hongwu University. Shang Yuhua immediately stood up and retorted loudly. When Wei Shenjin heard the words fiancé, he was so excited that his face turned red. He didn't realize that this wasn't a happy occasion. After Shang Yuhua finished speaking, she felt a little shy. She and Wei Shenjin hadn't known each other for a long time, and she had never mentioned the words fiancé or fiancé before. It really took a lot of courage for her to say it so recklessly today. At this moment, Wei Shenjin wasn't stupid. He immediately stood up and held Shang Yuhua's hand. He seized the opportunity and said, "This is Wei Shenjin's fiancé. If you want to use force to threaten her, even if I die, you can forget about succeeding." Lin Yi couldn't help but roll his eyes. He felt that the two of them wanted to act out a melodramatic love drama. Not only were their words mushy, but the way they were looking at each other with deep affection was also enough to give people goosebumps. I already understand this matter. You want to forcefully marry someone else's fiancé by relying on the fact that you are from some *T college in the East Continent. Do you really think that Middle Island is a place where you can do whatever you want? Lin Yi took over the conversation to prevent Wei Xinjin and Shang Yuhua from saying mushy words of love. In any case, he had to get rid of these people first. The elder in the early stage of the mountain opening stage couldn't see through Lin Yi's strength, so he spoke very politely. However, after Zhu Dadi got over the shock, he regained his initial arrogance because he had an expert in the early stage of the mountain opening stage by his side. Middle Island isn't a place where we can do whatever we want. Do you think you can do whatever you want? I don't know who you are, but this marriage is one of the foundations of the cooperation between the Hong Martial Arts College and the Universal Chamber of Commerce. The Universal Chamber of Commerce took the initiative to agree to our conditions, so I am this woman's legal fiancé. Control your little brother, or else I will let him know the consequences of offending the East Continent's Hong Martial Arts College. Zhu Dadi sneered. Although his words were still tough, he didn't have the calmness from before. Lin Yi couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with these two guys. It seemed that if he wanted to completely solve this matter, he had to make a trip to the Universal Chamber of Commerce. Just as he was thinking about going to the Universal Chamber of Commerce, Lin Yi's divine sense discovered that Shang Wani and 3 people were flying towards him. Looking at their clothes, they should also be the higher-ups of the Universal Chamber of Commerce. Perhaps they received the news that Zhu Dadi had besieged Wei Xinjin and Shang Yuhua, so they hurried over to mediate. This saved Lin Yi from making another trip to the Universal Chamber of Commerce. Actually, what Lin Yi didn't understand was what was wrong with the higher-ups of the Universal Chamber of Commerce. They actually chose to offend him, a mystic level 2 alchemist, and then befriended the son of the vice dean of the East Continent's Yellow Steppe Sea region? With Lin Yi's identity, even if he went to the East Continent's Mystic Steppe Sea region, he would still be the target of all parties. What was a mere Yellow Steppe Academy's vice dean's son? Zhu Dadi saw that Lin didn't speak, and thought that his aura had suppressed Lin. He was secretly pleased, and his mouth was even more unforgiving, useless nonsense. Shut up. Don't you know that you're very annoying? Lin Yi frowned slightly, and scolded him without any trace of politeness. He didn't want to talk to this kid because he found it troublesome, but this kid was getting worked up, buzzing like a fly. Even Lin Yi found it unbearable. Zhu Dadi was slightly stunned. Although Lin Yi's voice wasn't loud, the sudden shout really made this kid a little flustered. Fortunately, the people from the Universal Chamber of Commerce were already flying towards them. There was no need for divine sense, just the naked eye could see them clearly. It's my father, the executive vice president of the Universal Chamber of Commerce, Ping Jianxin, and 2 elders. Shang Yua's eyesight was very good, and she had already whispered to Lin Yi the identity of the people who came. Let's wait for them to come over first. Lin Yi nodded slightly and expressed his gratitude to Shang Yuhua. Chapter 6098. In a moment, Shang Wani and the 3 senior executives of the Universal Chamber of Commerce landed in front of everyone. Seeing Lin Yi, Shang Wani was relieved. He cupped his hands with a big smile and said, "It's great that Master Lin is here. I'm really sorry to bother you to come here to deal with my daughter's trivial matters." Not to mention that Lin Yi had saved his life, Shang Wani had to be extremely respectful to Lin Yi because of what Lin Yi had done on the far north island. They were already familiar with each other when they were on the ancient battleship. However, Lin Yi's status had risen so fast that Shang Wani had to be more careful when talking to him. In fact, after returning to the Middle Island, Shang Wani hadn't had time to report what had happened on the far north island before he encountered Yuhua's forced marriage. Therefore, the Universal Chamber of Commerce didn't notice the change of Lin Yi's identity at all. Because of this, they didn't care even though they knew that Wei Xinjin was Lin Yi's follower. Lin Yi smiled at Shang Wani and cupped his hands to greet him. As for the other 3 senior executives of the Universal Chamber of Commerce, they didn't care about them at all. They all surrounded Zhu Dadi and asked about his well-being. Master Lin, Yuhua's marriage is between the Universal Chamber of Commerce and the Hongwu College. It has nothing to do with the Tiandan Pavilion, so please don't intervene. Ping Jianxin turned his head and cupped his hands to Lin Yi casually. Although he didn't know what had happened to Lin Yi on the far north island, Lin Yi's status was not low even in the middle island. Therefore, he spoke politely. Vice President Ping, Yuhua is my daughter. What does her marriage have to do with the Chamber of Commerce? If I don't agree to this, no one can control Yuhua's life. Xianxia was infuriated. He could not help but refute Ping Jianxin loudly. After returning to Middle Island, he felt extremely aggrieved. Seeing that Lin Yi was here, Xianxia felt relieved. He knew that his daughter wouldn't be forced to marry in the Eastern continent. Ping Jianxin sneered and said, Vice President Xiang, watch your words. As the Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce, shouldn't you put the interests of the Chamber of Commerce first? What's more, young Master Zhu has a dignified appearance and outstanding talent. Don't tell me it's a disgrace for you to be paired with your lass? That's the famous Hongwu Academy in the Dongzhou continent. If Yuhua marries there, her future achievements will be much higher than if she stays in Zhongdao. Why can't you understand this? Lin Yi smiled faintly. He waved his hand to stop Xianxia and his daughter from arguing. He looked at Ping Jianxin and said with slight mockery, Vice President Ping, right? Since you said it so well, why don't you marry your daughter to this young Master Zhu? If you don't have a daughter, a niece or niece will do. If not, your elder sister will do. I believe young Master Zhu won't mind. Zhu Dadi's face turned pale. He had never been humiliated like this before. If it wasn't for the mountain opening initial stage old man stopping him, he might have taken action against Lin. Ping Jianxin's eyes turned cold. He was the executive vice president of the Universal Chamber of Commerce. In terms of status, he was above the deputy island master like the will of heaven. He was only slightly inferior to Okuda Prefecture. How could a mere pavilion master of Tiandan Pavilion be so arrogant in front of him? It was a pity that he didn't have the chance to listen to Xianxua's report on the extreme North Island. Otherwise, he would know that his position as the executive vice president of the Universal Chamber of Commerce was really worthless in front of Lin Yi. Vice President Xiang, I don't want outsiders to interfere with the internal affairs of our Chamber of Commerce. I'll ask you one last time. Do you agree to the marriage with Hongwu Academy? This will be one of the Chamber of Commerce's judgments on whether you are qualified to be the vice president. Ping Jianxin was unhappy with Lin Yi, but he didn't choose to confront him head-on. Instead, he avoided the important point and dwelled on the trivial point, directly threatening Xianxia. As the executive vice president, it wasn't a problem for him to bully an ordinary vice president. As long as Xianxia wasn't stupid, he should know how to choose. Xianxia was so angry that he laughed. He tore off his Universal Chamber of Commerce robe and threw it on the ground. He pointed at Ping Jianxin and scolded, Ping Jianxin, do you really think that you're something? Are you blind? Do you think I'll sell my own daughter for such a *T position as a vice president? Let me tell you, I don't care about this *T vice president position at all. Master Lin is right. If you want to sell, you can sell your family members. Don't *King think about my daughter. Not only was Ping Jianxin dumbfounded by this scolding, but the other two Universal Chamber of Commerce elders were also stunned. All along, Xianxia had been a very smooth and qualified businessman. They didn't expect his sudden outburst to be quite frightening. However, this wasn't important. What was important was that a vice president could quit just like that. This was also a big shock to the Universal Chamber of Commerce. Even if Ping Jianxin could suppress it, he definitely wouldn't be able to eliminate the negative impact. What is a mere Universal Chamber of Commerce? With Brother Xiang's talent, you will be a talent that everyone will fight for wherever you go. It just so happens that I'm preparing to establish a Chamber of Commerce. If Brother Xiang is willing to condescend, please help me and carry this burden. Lin Yi smiled slightly and began to poach people in front of Ping Jianxin. He did have the idea of establishing a Chamber of Commerce, mainly because of the automatic alchemy furnace of the medicine sect. However, he hadn't considered the specific matters yet. It just so happened that Xianxia was preparing to leave the Universal Chamber of Commerce. Lin Yi immediately linked the two together and felt that this was really a good thing. In fact, from Wei Shenjin's perspective, as the boss, Lin Yi should be considered as Shang Wani's junior. However, Shang Wani probably didn't dare to let him be a junior, so calling him Brother Shang was already very polite. Shang Wani was slightly stunned. He didn't know if Lin Yi just wanted to help him on a whim, or if he really wanted to establish a chamber of commerce. In any case, this was a very good opportunity. With Lin Yi, a mystic stage second-level alchemist, plus the fact that Nakajima's manager had a good relationship with Tiandan Pavilion, if he really wanted to establish a chamber of commerce, his business would definitely surpass the Universal Chamber of Commerce. Shang Wani made a prompt decision and immediately nodded. Master Lin is willing to give me a chance. I will do my best to manage the Chamber of Commerce for you. And it won't take long for our Chamber of Commerce to surpass the Universal Chamber of Commerce. Shang Wani straightened his chest and said decisively. Chapter 6099. From today onwards, Brother Shang, you are the president of our Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce, let's go back and discuss the direction of our future development. As for those clowns, don't waste time on them. Lin Yi smiled and clasped his hands at Shang Wani. Then he signaled Wei Shenjin and Shang Yuhua to prepare to go back. Zhu Dadi always prided himself on being calm. However, he suddenly became hot-headed. He couldn't help but rush towards Shang Yuhua with a ferocious look in his eyes. Bitch! I have given you face, but you don't know what's good for you. Today, I will let you know that I am not someone to be trifled with. Before Zhu Dadi finished his words, he had already attacked Shang Yuhua. The old man beside him turned pale with fright. He'd been too focused on Lin Yi just now and had overlooked this kid, allowing him to rush out of the way. Lin Yi didn't care about this idiot at all. With Wei Shenjin on the side, this kind of young master's strength was not enough to threaten Shang Yuhua. He only needed to ensure that the old man in the early stage of mountain opening stage would not interfere. Zhu Dadi's attack was considered fast. However, Wei Shenjin had been paying attention to this guy. How could he let this guy hurt his sweetheart? With a low shout, Wei Shenjin stood in front of Shang Yuhua. He raised his hand and threw a punch. The surrounding temperature instantly dropped. In the space where the punch passed, there were even small ice crystals. Zhu Dadi's expression changed slightly. Although he was in the original infant stage, his strength was mostly increased by the accumulation of medicinal pellets. In terms of talent, he was really not as good as the genius disciple of the Snow Sword faction, Wei Shenjin. Therefore, when he threw this punch, he had the intention to retreat. However, the cold air formed by Wei Shenjin's chi made him feel a little sluggish. In addition, he had rushed out too fiercely just now. For a moment, he couldn't retreat even if he wanted to. He could only fight it head-on. Their fists collided with each other. Zhu Dadi's strength was already at a disadvantage, and he had the thought of retreating and hesitating in his heart. The result of fighting head-on was that he would be defeated immediately. The old man who was protecting Zhu Dadi was ready to help his young master even before the two of them clashed. However, Lin Yi only moved his feet slightly, without any intention to help. That invisible pressure made the old man's hair stand on end, and he subconsciously focused all his attention on Lin. In the next moment, the old man realized that he had once again neglected Zhu Dadi. In that split second of distraction, his young master had already been sent flying back with a scream. The arm that had punched Wei Shenjin was already covered with a thin layer of frost. How dare you! The old man was immediately shocked and angry. He could no longer care about Lin. In a flash, he appeared behind Zhu Dadi. He deflected the impact of flying back and wiped away the cold air on his arm. At the same time, he put a recover pill into his mouth. After doing all of that in the blink of an eye, the old man did not stop. Instead, his figure flashed once again, appearing before Wei Shenjin. He raised his hand, wanting to slap Wei Shenjin's face and send him flying. This time, he didn't want to kill Wei Shenjin. After all, there was Lin Yi beside him. The old man didn't want to offend a local tyrant with unfathomable strength. If Zhu Dadi hadn't been injured and didn't get back at him, the old man, as his protector, would have lost face. When he went back, he would definitely be punished. He didn't want to slap Zhu Dadi. Unfortunately, this old man really didn't know Lin Yi at all. If he wanted to slap his younger brother in front of him, it was no different from slapping him. Lin Yi, who had always been protective of his people, would not hesitate to support Wei Shenjin even if it was Wei Shenjin who attacked first. Not to mention that it was just a legitimate defense. It was already polite of him not to kill Zhu Dadi. How dare he look for trouble later? With the full power of the extreme butterfly subtle steps, Lin Yi left a trace of shadow where he was standing. His body had instantly appeared in the path of the old man. He also slapped, but before the old man could hit Wei Shenjin, Lin Yi had already slapped his face. The old man felt that he was already very guarded against Lin Yi, but he still didn't expect that Lin Yi's speed would be so terrifying. He almost didn't even have the chance to react. It was definitely too late to block. The old man could only rely on his instincts to move his head, making a slight dodging movement. Lin Yi's palm didn't completely hit him, but he didn't care. Just the sweep of 4 fingers was enough to send the old man flying. With a not-so-clear slap, the old man's forward direction suddenly changed by 90 degrees. His entire body flipped twice in the air before landing on the ground in a slightly sorry state. Zhu Dadi couldn't help but shiver. First, it was because the cold air hadn't completely disappeared, and second, it was because he was scared by Lin Yi's strength. The old man beside him was an expert in the early stage of the mountain opening realm, but he was actually directly sent flying by a slap from Lin Yi? What kind of strength did Lin Yi have? Ping Jianshan's heart also trembled. However, Hongwu College was an important partner of the Universal Chamber of Commerce in opening up the East Continent. He definitely couldn't sit back and watch these two people be bullied without saying a word. Lin Yi, don't go too far. This is an important guest from the East Continent. Even if the acting island owner of Okuda State was here, he wouldn't dare to offend him. Do you really want to stay in Middle Island? Ping Jianshan scolded him sternly. At the same time, he quickly blocked in front of Lin Yi, putting on a look of protecting Zhu Dadi and Lin. Lin Yi smiled faintly, completely ignoring the subtle hint in Ping Jianshan's words. This guy thought that he still needed the protection of Okuda State to survive in Middle Island, so he deliberately pointed out that Okuda State was only an acting island owner. However, he didn't know that Lin Yi had already passed the stage of needing support. In fact, when Ping Jianshan saw the 6 unconscious East Continent people on the ground, he knew that Lin Yi was not easy to get along with. However, he was still confident that with him, the executive vice president of the Universal Chamber of Commerce, Lin Yi would restrain himself no matter what. He didn't expect that the truth was completely different. It's not up to you to decide whether I want to stay in Middle Island or not. If you insist on interfering, don't blame me for being rude. Lin Yi glanced at Ping Jianshan coldly. This guy didn't look like a good guy no matter how he looked at it. If he still didn't know what was good for him, it wouldn't matter if he taught him a lesson. Anyway, after Shang Wanyi followed Lin, he already had a grudge against the Universal Chamber of Commerce. It was not a big deal to have another crime like teaching the executive vice president a lesson. Ping Jianshan was a little scared. However, under such circumstances, he absolutely couldn't back down, or else his cooperation with Hongwu College would end here. Chapter 6100. Originally, I wanted to let it go, but since you want to mess things up, I'll fulfill your wish. Lin Yi had a mocking expression. He lifted his leg and kicked. Ping Jianshan did not react at all. He only felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. Then, his entire body flew backwards. After Lin Yi kicked Ping Jianshan away, he used the Wood Forest Thousand Transformations. He created hundreds of clones that surrounded Zhu Dadi and the mountain opening stage elder and started beating them up. Although the power of the Wood Forest Thousand Transformations was not great, there were many of them. It was the best way to beat people up, especially against people who were weaker than him. It was definitely satisfying. As for the other 2 elders of the Universal Chamber of Commerce, their strength had not reached the mountain opening stage yet. When they saw the power of the Wood Forest Thousand Transformations, they wisely turned around and retreated. They pretended to check on Ping Jianshan's injuries and stayed far away from Lin Yi's attack range. Lin Yi did not care about the 2 of them. Their existence did not affect him at all. Now, he only needed to beat people up to his heart's content. Poor Zhu Dadi and the old man, who were at the early phase of the mountain opening, couldn't do anything against Lin Yi's clones. No matter how hard they tried to defend, they were still hit by punches and kicks from all directions. In just a breath's time, the two of them were swollen up. Actually, with the Elder's strength, the Wood Forest Thousand transformations would not have much of an effect. However, when Lin Yi had just arrived, he had already felt a little guilty. After that, he was sent flying by Lin Yi, which made him even more fearful of Lin Yi. That was why he was completely suppressed by the Wood Forest Thousand transformations. His performance was not much better than Zhu Dadi, who was in the original infant stage. Fortunately, Lin Yi did not have the intention to kill, so Zhu Dadi and Lin Yi were able to keep their lives. The power of the Forest Thousand transformations was indeed not strong, but that was only relative. It might be difficult to kill a mountain opening stage cultivator, but against a nascent soul stage Zhu Dadi, a clone was enough to kill him instantly. Seeing that the two guys were almost swollen, Lin Yi waved his hand and dissipated all the doppelgangers. Then, he looked at the two guys on the ground whose faces were beyond recognition and said calmly, "Remember, the one who beat you up is Lin Yi of Tiandan Pavilion. If you have any grudges and want to take revenge, just come to me. I'll accept it at any time. Don't find the wrong person." After saying that, he glanced coldly at the three people from the Universal Chamber of Commerce not far away. His words were also meant for them to hear. He didn't want them to take revenge on the people around him. Zhu Dadi and the others could not even tell the difference between their eyes and nose, so they could not answer Lin. As for Ping Jianshan, although he was angry, he knew that a wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. He humphed and did not say anything. "Let's go." Lin Yi turned his head and said goodbye to Shang Wani, his daughter, and Wei Shenjin. Then he left the place first. Next, he had to think about the establishment of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. He had this idea before. Now that he had Shang Wani, Lin Yi certainly had to think about how to operate it seriously. Now, because of the impact of the automatic alchemy furnace of the medicine sect, there was basically no market for low-level elixirs in Tiandan Pavilion. High-level elixirs were expensive and limited, so they could not be sold as regular products. Therefore, it was quite necessary to transform. As for the goods after the establishment of the Chamber of Commerce, Lin Yi also had some ideas. In addition to his elixirs, the wormhole in the center could also be used. Since they could sell goods from the secular world, of course, Lin Yi could also sell them. Anyway, the wormhole was now shared by both sides, and the market was so big. Presumably, the center would not mind too much. As for the specific matters, he needed to go back and contact the secular world. Anyway, he had already mentioned this to Lai Chang'e, Brother Dafeng, and the others. It would be more convenient to operate now. The only problem was Han Jingjing's whereabouts. If she could return in time, it would be perfect. After returning to Tiandan Pavilion, Tian Chan greeted him first. Her pretty face was full of joy, and she was holding a letter in her hand. "Lin Yi, this is the reply from the secular world. They have news about Jing Jing. Jing Jing is fine. She is still in the secular world. She said that she will be back in a few days." Tian Chan handed the letter in her hand to Lin. She was also greatly relieved. Although Han Jingjing did not wake up immediately, this news was enough to make Lin Yi feel at ease. Lin Yi was overjoyed when he heard this. He quickly took the letter and opened it. He read it quickly. Sure enough, it mentioned that Han Jingjing took the initiative to contact the villa and asked them to inform Heavenly Island that she was safe. However, because she still had some things to do, she would only be back in a few days. Lin Yi didn't know when this letter had been sent. He thought that he had just received the letter, and Han Jingjing might wake up at any time. He didn't have time to settle Shang Wani and the others down. He only gave them a few simple instructions and told them to familiarize themselves with the Heavenly Dan Pavilion. He then went upstairs to visit Han Jingjing. Unfortunately, Han Jingjing was still in the secular world at this time and could not return to Heavenly Island immediately. That day, she and Black Cloak and Hunting Bow went to Evil Spirit Town and smoothly destroyed the many evil spirits entrenched there. With the strength of Han Jingjing's spirit and the assistance of the alchemic fire, it was a piece of cake to deal with these little things. Every time she destroyed an evil spirit, Han Jingjing would ingest and convert the energy of the soul she had gathered into it, repairing the injuries of her soul until she made a complete recovery. When she had destroyed all the evil spirits in the town, not only did her soul make a complete recovery, but her strength had also increased drastically. Unfortunately, this was only a one-time improvement. There was not much use in using soul power again. Instead, it made her feel that her spirit was somewhat impure, so she did not dare to continue using soul power to cultivate her spirit. Because of this, Black Cloak and Hunting Bow benefited greatly. Not only were the two soul-gathering bottles filled with soul force, but their strength had also increased under Han Jingjing's guidance. At the same time, they had also collected a few useful soul armaments from Spectre Town. For Black Cloak and Hunting Bow, this was definitely a bountiful harvest. If they sold 2 full bottles of soul power, they would be able to earn at least 10 to 20 million euros. As for the increase in strength and the items they obtained, it was something that couldn't be measured with money. Therefore, the two of them felt respect for Han Jingjing from the bottom of their hearts. They even had the thought of taking her as their master. Of course, Han Jingjing would not accept 2 foreign spirit hunters as her disciples. She did not have the time for that. After leaving Evil Spirit Town, Han Jingjing prepared to try to return to Heavenly Island. Chapter 6101. In fact, teleportation through the wormhole was also very fast. Last time, Han Jingjing wandered around in the wormhole and left the range of the teleportation channel. That was why her speed was a little slow. This time, as long as she focused on teleportation, she believed that she would be able to return to Heaven Island soon. The only problem now was where was the entrance to the wormhole? Finding the entrance to the wormhole in Europe was tantamount to looking for a needle in a haystack. Han Jingjing had no choice but to return to China first. Entering from the main entrance controlled by the center was the safest way. Han Jingjing did not need to use her spirit form to slowly cross the sea. She could hide on the plane and take a plane to return to China. When she reached a nearby city, it would be very simple. Because she said last time that she would return to Heaven Island directly, Han Jingjing did not intend to go to the villa this time. After being delayed in the secular world for so long, Lin Yi must be very worried about her, so she went directly to the wormhole entrance in the center. The spirit form was very convenient. It did not take much effort to sneak into a place without being discovered. Han Jingjing easily found the wormhole entrance and saw Big Brother De Feng commanding people to teleport many secular goods to Heaven Island. It seems that Big Brother Lin Yi is going to give them a taste of their own medicine. He is using the secular world's products to compete with the Central Chamber of Commerce and break the other party's monopoly. Han Jingjing smiled gently. She felt that this method was indeed good. Unfortunately, the agreement with the center was only for a year. During this time, she had to find a way to thoroughly study the wormhole and find an independent tunnel to avoid relying too much on the center's wormhole in the future. Originally, Han Jingjing wanted to show up and say hello to Big Brother De Feng, but there were many people around the wormhole. Although most of them were people she found, some were placed here by the center to monitor Big Brother De Feng. To avoid unnecessary trouble, Han Jingjing suppressed the idea in her heart and took advantage of the gap to quietly enter the wormhole. As soon as she entered the wormhole, her spirit form broke down into particles and flew to the other end at high speed. It was more than 100 times faster than Han Jingjing's previous wandering speed. However, the moment she entered the tunnel, Han Jingjing realized that something was amiss. She was not the only one in the tunnel. The particle clusters of all the items moved quickly without interfering with each other, nor would they touch her particle cluster. However, there was one cluster of particles that was motionless in the tunnel and happened to block Han Jingjing's path. Han Jingjing could vaguely feel the fluctuations of her spirit from that cluster of particles. These fluctuations were very strong, but there was also a hint of weakness, which was a little strange. The particles of the item shuttled back and forth between the particles without any effect, but when Han Jingjing's essence soul particles approached, the motionless particles suddenly exploded, instantly entangling with Han Jingjing. The two spirit particles broke free from the wormhole's teleportation tunnel and floated in the wormhole space at the side. Then, Han Jingjing's spirit body appeared. "Little girl, your spirit strength is not bad. You can actually encounter a great tonic here. Be obedient and let me fuse with you so that you won't suffer. Another head appeared on the shoulder of Han Jingjing's spirit body. It was Wang Ba, who had disappeared on Heaven Island because of the miniature teleportation array. Lin had always thought that he'd been killed in the explosion, but who would have thought that this 10,000-year tortoise had such a tough life? He didn't die even after all that, and appeared in the wormhole. In fact, Wang Ba was also very puzzled about why he appeared here. However, he was already very lucky to be able to escape from Lin. As for where he was, he did not care at all. It had been a while since he came to the wormhole space, but Wang Ba did not intend to leave immediately. That was because he had indeed suffered serious injuries when he was teleported by the miniature teleportation array. Under the premise that he did not know what was going on, he did not dare to simply run around. More importantly, Wang Ba found that after his spirit turned into the form of particles, he could actually slowly recover from his injuries. Although it would take at least 800 years for him to fully recover, it was still a way. Moreover, he could continue to exist without the Xianhai soul-condensing fluid, so he simply hid here to recuperate. If Han Jingjing had not suddenly teleported in the tunnel, Wang Ba might have slept for 1,000 years. It was because he had sensed the fluctuation of the spirit that he gave up recuperating and attacked Han Jingjing's spirit. If Wang Ba knew how to devour Lin Yi's spirit, Han Jingjing would have been swallowed by him. Fortunately, he did not have such a technique, so Han Jingjing had escaped. However, Wang Ba did not attack Han Jingjing without any confidence. He found that after he turned into particles, there was a high chance that he could integrate with the spirit in the same state, such as Han Jingjing. As long as the integration was successful, his injuries would be greatly healed. By then, he would not have to stay here anymore. He could go out and find a body to possess. Who are you? Get out of my way. Although Han Jingjing was shocked, she did not panic. She tried her best to maintain control of her spirit and tried her best to drive Wang Ba out. Hey, you're quite stubborn. Wang Ba was a little surprised. He initially thought that this attack would be a piece of cake. He did not expect the integration process to be as easy as he had imagined. The integration in the form of particles was only Wang Ba's own speculation. He had never put it into practice. In other words, Han Jingjing was the first test subject that Wang Ba used to practice, but he seemed to have fallen into a trap himself. In terms of the strength of the spirit, Wang Ba was infinitely close to the sea-splitting stage at his peak, but it declined a lot later on. Coupled with his previous injuries, it was good enough for him to maintain his strength at the peak of the mysterious ascension late stage. Although Han Jingjing had made some progress, the strength of her spirit was barely at the mysterious ascension stage. She could not be compared to Wang Ba at all. The reason for the current situation had to be found from the state of both parties. Wang Ba had not recovered from his serious injuries. Although his primordial spirit was strong, it was still very weak. On the other hand, Han Jingjing had accumulated a large amount of soul power. Although her primordial spirit was not pure, it was still extremely solid. Even if it had turned into a ball of particles, the connection between them was still extremely tight. Wang Ba had probably kicked an iron plate when he wanted to merge with Han Jingjing. That was indeed the case. Wang Ba seemed to have some advantage in the beginning, but Han Jingjing gradually took the initiative. When she used the alchemy fire of soul, Wang Ba screamed and hid completely, not daring to show his face. Chapter 6102. If she used the divine alchemic fire, she might burn her spirit because of the fusion problem. Han Jingjing was not sure what would happen to her if she did that. Little girl, I admit that I have underestimated you, but it doesn't matter. I don't lack patience. Let's wait and see. Wang Ba felt a little guilty in his heart, but he was very stubborn with his words. Although he seemed to be at a disadvantage now, Wang Ba believed that as long as Han Jingjing's spirit body turned back into a particle cluster, he would have a chance to continue fusing with her spirit. As time went by, Wang Ba's condition would get better, and the fusion speed would naturally get faster. Han Jingjing suddenly quietened down. This annoying bastard could not be separated for a while, so the only way was to stop him from continuing to fuse with her spirit, so she could only choose to maintain the spirit body state. It seemed that it was too late to return to Heaven Stage Island. If she went back like this, she might be possessed by this bastard. Han Jingjing thought for a while and turned around to fly back. She could not take such a risk, so she prepared to stay in the secular world for a while. The spirit body's movement speed in the wormhole space was even slower, but Han Jingjing had no choice. She would never turn back into a particle cluster. Fortunately, the previous teleportation was only for a moment. The spirit body spent more than 10 minutes and finally returned to the entrance. There were still so many cracks surrounding the most stable exit. This time, Han Jingjing had no other choice but to exit from the central exit. If she used her primordial spirit form to pass through the other cracks, it might cause a lot of unnecessary damage. If that bastard took the opportunity to attack, Han Jingjing would be in big trouble. Sister-in-law Jingjing? As soon as Han Jingjing's spirit body came out of the wormhole, she heard Big Brother Dafeng's exclamation. She could not help but smile bitterly. Fortunately, she went in quietly just now. Otherwise, it would be hard to explain why she went in and came out again. Big Brother Dafeng, does the wormhole belong to us today? Han Jingjing greeted him with a smile and casually made a meaningless remark. Yeah, why did you come out of the wormhole? Boss Lin Yi has been anxious these days. I heard that you were still here a while ago. Brother Dafeng couldn't help but ask in a low voice. He then remembered that this was not a place to talk, so he quickly looked around and bowed to Han Jingjing. Let's leave this place first. Do you think it's possible to go back to the villa? Alright, I'll head back to the villa first. Could you please send someone to send me back? Han Jingjing did not stand on ceremony. She still had to suppress Wang Ba in her primordial spirit, so she could not be distracted. Who are you going to send? I'll go back with you right away. Big Brother Feng didn't dare to delay. After whispering, he led Han Jingjing away from the place. Although the center had signed a truce agreement with Lin Yi, Han Jingjing's identity was too special. Lin Yi had returned to Heaven Island. Big Brother Dafeng did not dare to take the risk of letting her stay here. If something happened, the center could push the blame away. Soon, he took Han Jingjing to a helicopter and left through the air. Although the people in the center had received the news of Han Jingjing's appearance, they did not stop them. After returning to the villa, everyone was present because they had been notified by Big Brother Dafeng in advance. Everyone was overjoyed to see Han Jingjing. They were as anxious as Lin Yi was. Although they had received news that she was fine, it was better to see her with their own eyes. After Han Jingjing briefly greeted everyone, she did not say anything else. With the strength of her primordial spirit, it was still a little difficult to suppress Wang Ba for a long time, especially because of the fusion problem. She could not use the divine sense elixir fire to deal with him. The reason why Han Jingjing rushed to the villa was to make a call. Black Shirt and Hunting Bao's phone number. Before leaving Europe, Han Jingjing did not think of asking for their phone numbers because it was not necessary. The divine sense mark on them was not removed. If she wanted to find them, she could sense them as long as she strolled around their area of activity. However, in the current situation, Han Jingjing really could not be distracted by running around, so her only hope was that the number she used to call the villa last time was still there. Sun Jingyi looked strangely at Han Jingjing, who was rushing to the phone and flipping through the records. She asked softly, Jingjing, what's wrong with you? Are you looking for someone? Yes, it's the number I called last time. It's a friend of mine in Europe. I have something to talk to him about. Han Jingjing turned her head and smiled, then turned back to rummage through the phone. Fortunately, there were not many records on the phone, so she quickly found the number. Han Jingjing quickly pressed the call back, but the call did not go through. Why can't I get through? Do I really have to go to Europe personally? Han Jingjing's little face showed some disappointment. Perhaps the two spirit hunters, Black Shirt and Hunting Bao, would have a way to solve the problem of the spirit. This was also her plan. Even though their strength was not worth mentioning, they did have a different approach in this regard. Europe and Wuxia were two completely different cultivation systems. At present, there was no one in the mortal world who was stronger than Han Jingjing in the aspect of primordial spirit. The only people she could ask for help were the two spirit hunters in black. You want to find a friend in Europe? Who are they? Sun Jingyi waited for Han Jingjing to put down the phone before asking curiously. Han Jingjing didn't go back to Sky Island, So what was she doing all this time? Was she always in Europe? Then why did she come out of the wormhole today? Everyone was curious about these questions, but seeing that Han Jingjing seemed to have something on her mind, they were too embarrassed to ask directly. It's two spirit hunters. The soul collection bottle that was used to wake up Lin Big Bro came from them. Han Jingjing explained casually. She turned her head and took the laptop that Wu Tian had placed on the coffee table, typing quickly on the keyboard. As a powerful hacker, it was not impossible to locate a phone based on a number. Since the call could not go through, Han Jingjing could only confirm Black Shirt's current location first. Actually, if you want to find someone in Europe, you can call Kerman Buffon. Buffon, it'll be easier to get him to help. Maybe Kerman knows people like spirit hunters. Jingyi thought for a moment before giving Han Jingjing an idea.